There is no denying there's something special about this place.
Every time you pull into the racetrack, you get that feeling. It's kind of like holy ground.
It is a monument of American tradition, a shrine of speed.
It's a big deal. It's a big race. It's a place where everybody wants to win.
The magnitude of the structure is surpassed only by the racing inside.
It's just so unpredictable. You do things those last 2 laps that you'd never do the rest of the race.
Coming to the checkers!
Oh, wow! Close, I don't know.
Push in the wall! Here comes Stewart to the checkered flag!
Success can be had by anyone, having as much to do with one's position in the pack as it does with self-determination and a twist of fate.
You get caught back in that 3 wide, 6 deep, you're just at the mercy of who goes, who's dragging the brake, and who doesn't.
From the chaos, a winner will emerge, and through the tears and elation, we'll see why this isn't just another race.
Anytime you win a Daytona, it's special.
You're just overwhelmed with so many feelings and so many thoughts. You can't enjoy that moment enough.
There is a buzz in Central Florida tonight. Daytona International Speedway hosting the Sprint Cup Series. NASCAR on TNT live at Daytona International Speedway with coverage of the Coke Zero 400, powered by Coca-Cola. And as you can see, plenty of sunshine draped over this 2.5-mile super speedway. 83 degrees right now. Going to drop down to the upper 70s as the evening continues. Partly cloudy skies. No rain in sight. And now our Coke Zero starting grid. Kyle Busch on the pole. His first pole at Daytona. Won this race 5 years ago. Alongside him, a 2-time 500 winner, Matt Kenseth, his teammate. Casey Kane on row 2 with Clint Boyer. Martin Truex Jr. won a couple of weeks ago at Sonoma. 4th straight top 10 start for him. And his best finish here, a 6th. That's Paul Menard, who's in row 3. Row 4, Michael Waltrip, Jimmy Johnson, who won the Daytona 500. Greg Biffle with his teammate in row 9, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Row 6 belongs to Danica Patrick and Carl Edwards. Edwards, a 2-time runner-up at Daytona. Row 7, the man who won this race a year ago. That would be Tony Stewart. In fact, he's gone to victory lane in the Midsummer Classic some 4 times. Let's hear from Smoke. Wally?
Mr. Stewart, this is Wally D in the TNT booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, man, you have got an incredible record here at Daytona, and I know it probably would be really, really cool for you if you win another Daytona 400, you tie David Pearson's wins at 5. That's got to be a cool accomplishment for you.
Yeah, it's just a pretty cool deal just to be mentioned with David Pearson. So, you know, it'd be cool to win a 5th one here. And, you know, we got our friends from Ducks Unlimited with us this weekend on the car, and Johnny Moore's from Bass Pro Shops and Mobil One and Coca-Cola and everybody. So excited about it for sure. I mean, it's a great opportunity to do something really cool here, and it's a place that we like. So definitely looking forward to it tonight.
I'm not going to ask the knucklehead question about what your plan is, because I know it's really hard to have a plan here at Daytona. But, you know, once this race gets underway, what do you really try to accomplish? What are you going to be looking for? Because sometimes you'll ride in the back, and sometimes you'll try to stay out front. What's your thoughts tonight?
Well, it's kind of like watching Peyton Manning when he played for the Colts all those years. You kind of call it audible every lap, and you kind of get a feel for what the race is doing. I mean, we'll go hard here at the beginning and see how the race settles in, and if guys get a little more anxious than I would like to be at the beginning, we get shuffled out, we may just hang out at the back for a while. And you know, the big thing is we had a really good race car at the 500 here. Good race car in the 500 here and didn't make it to the end. So, you know, the biggest thing is getting ourselves in a position to do something at the end of the race. It doesn't pay anything till lap 160, so we got to race the race.
Tony, thanks for talking to us, and good luck tonight.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
And now a word from our pit reporters before we go green. We start with Ralph Shaheen.
The aisle through the pit area here is very narrow and packed full of fans at Daytona. It's going to be tough for the guys carrying gas cans and tires tonight. Dale Earnhardt Jr. pitted all the way down near turn number 1. Just reporting on the radio right now, the right front wheel feels a little weird to him on the pace laps. We'll keep an eye on that, Chris Neville.
Well, 6-time Daytona winner Jeff Gordon has moved up 4 positions in the last 2 weeks in the championship. He's pretty confident the team is going to make the chase, even with the inconsistency they've had this season. Tonight, though, The plan, a top 10. He says it is more important, a top 10 in the championship tonight, than going after the win. Too many risks in going after that win tonight. Matt?
Chris Adam documented earlier in the show just the frustrations that Kevin Harvick had experienced at both Daytona and Talladega in 2013. In fact, those two wrecks, he's combined for just 7 points. The game plan tonight, they brought back their Sprint Unlimited winner. The car has more drag, should be better on a hot, slicker racetrack. But the biggest thing, Larry Mack, that Gil Martin thinks, he's going to take tires every stop until the end when they expect maybe just fuel only. These Goodyears wearing so well.
Well, Matt, Jimmy Finning has 3 wins here at Daytona, including a win in 1987, the July race with Bobby Allison. Now, his driver, Carl Edwards, has never won a carburetor restrictor plate race in Sprint Cup. Now, Marty, what is Jimmy thinking maybe to get Carl that first win and his 4th win here at Daytona?
Kind of hard to believe, Larry Mack, that Carl Edwards does not have a plate win, isn't it? But, Jimmy, any magic you can provide to get Carl that first plate win tonight?
Well, I don't know. It's a big team effort here. You know, I got to thank Robert Yates, Doug Yates, and everybody for the motors. Hopefully, we always provide good cars for our drivers, and hopefully got a good one for Carl.
It's going to be fun to watch Carl Edwards. He starts 12th tonight, Adam.
Thank you, Marty. We are closing on 8 o'clock in the East. About time to go green at Daytona. We look at the race analysis for tonight's Coke Zero 400. 400 miles, 160 laps. Pit road speed 55 miles per hour, and that's a big deal because it's so challenging under green to get woed down and meet the pit road speed, and the pit window somewhere between 40 and 45 laps. Fans were tailgating here this morning before 8 a.m. Always a lot of anticipation when you get ready to go green at this place. 18th race of the year, but a little extra juice for this one because at the end of the night, the man that gets the trophy can say, I have a win at Daytona International Speedway. Front row, teammates from Joe Gibbs Racing, Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth. Great here in the 500. Right behind him, Clint Boyer and Casey Kane. Kane looking for his first ever Sprint Cup win at a restrictor plate track. Truex, Menard on row 3. Michael Waltrip, top 5 at Talladega on row 4. We're set to go green at the World Center of Racing. They come through turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, you're going to do it. Do it now. This is the best the cars are going to be on tires and everything like that. You saw Carl Edwards, one of the first guys to I see Jimmy Johnson in there right now. But
Matt Kenseth led the opening lap.
Everybody's pretty even right now as far as lane choice.
That's Casey Kane making that outside lane work, trying to steal the race lead away. Paul Menard behind him. Bottom of the racetrack, Martin Truex Jr. pushing Kyle Busch out front.
This already has a very different look than the Daytona 500. These guys had their hands full down here in February, but they have gotten these cars a long way since February.
Yeah, a long way. These cars are a lot more stable. We saw it in practice. These guys only wanted to go out and run in packs of 6 or 7. In practice down here for this race, they were already out in the bigger packs, even though they only run in that one practice. But really, a lot more stable than what they were, and I think that gives these guys a lot more confidence to go out and run 3 wide this early.
Jeff Gordon pointed something out in practice the other day. Cars handling great. You can see it here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, they have done a lot of work on these cars. I mean, the first time these cars hit the racetrack was at Daytona in February, and I remember, watching the telecast and watching these guys saving these race cars. A lot of spins. A lot of guys were in trouble, but they've done a nice job, and the cars are handling well. We watched in practice. You watch the telemetry. If you can stay on the gas and it's 100% most of the time during a run, then your car is handling very well.
Top 5 last time around, all Toyotas. Kyle Busch leads as we complete lap 3. Ralph?
Just before we went green, Juan Pablo Montoya rolled up and took a look at that right front tire for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Said it looked like it was completely full of air. To him, didn't see any problems. Jr. has been silent about it on the radio since we've gone to green.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. dropping back in the pack. You can see the numbers here. Started 16th, right now 30th. 7 restrictor plate wins. That's 3rd on the all-time list. But he hasn't got a points-paying victory in a Sprint Cup race of this variety since 2004.
You watch the telemetry here, and really the green where it says throttle, that really tells the story about how a car's handling here at Daytona. If that thing stays green all the time, and you don't see the red come underneath the throttle where it says brake, your car's working good. Now it's early, but the temperatures are dropping. That helps the car's grip more. And as you can see, he went through the corners there, no problem, never lifted, almost 200 miles per hour. There's 200 right there.
And you see him go from the outside lane all the way to the bottom. He catches 2 cars side by side and is able to use a little bit of that draft.
Getting antsy at the front. Kyle Busch leads, that 18 car on the inside, painted gold this weekend, but he's got company coming outside. In fact, he slides up in front of Casey Kane. How much time at Daytona do you look out the windshield versus looking in the rearview mirror?
I think you look in the rearview mirror more than you do out the windshield when you're racing a restrictor plate race, because you have to be aware of everything that's around you. You've got spotters here that are great, but you are looking behind you and around you a lot.
Yeah, and the one thing that we're seeing already with Kyle, he's inside, he's outside. And I'm not going to say that he's blocking, but what he's doing is he's trying to slow the momentum. He'll get the momentum going in the outside line, see it coming, and then his spotter tells him, you see him in the middle of the corner here, the inside line's coming now. Let's see if he goes back to the bottom to block the momentum from the inside line. And what he's doing is trying to get the momentum from that line to push him farther forward.
Now just take a look at, we talked to Tony Stewart. Obviously, he didn't like what he saw up there because he's already dropped back to the 29th spot. So he's just going to, I think, sit down and let things shake out a bit.
And he's not the only one. Clint Boyer, who started in the top 5, he has drifted back. Brad Keselowski is back there. We talked about Dale Earnhardt Jr., and here you see this group. Eric Almirola among them. Matt, what's Smoke saying?
A number of friends and corporate teammates fading to the back, including Tony Stewart. He's near the back. And Kevin Harvick's pre-race game plan was to ride in the back, prevent defense, just to try to stay out of trouble until things calm down.
Yeah, you want to make sure, you got to be careful not to lose a drafting partner, because if you break the draft, I think it's almost 10 mile per hour difference than when you're in the draft and out of the draft here at Daytona. So you can go down a lap or more really quick if you lose the draft.
Yeah, and we saw that happen to Tony at Talladega. We saw it happen that he got to the back, got dropped off, and then all but got lapped. So it's not this is not the Gen 5 car. The Gen 5 car, they could tandem race, they could hook up and run that crowd back down, and it was a little bit easier to go to the back. When you go to the back, it's different today because you still have to run pretty hard to stay up with this pack. Yeah. You can't lose touch with them.
7 laps complete at Daytona. Kyle Busch has led 6 of those. Want to join us live at Daytona next year? Head to mcr.com/Coke0400 for the chance to win a trip for 2 to the 2014 Coke Zero 400 and a new 2014 Chevy Camaro 2 SL. We're back live on TNT after a break. 11 laps complete in the Coke Zero 400 at Daytona. Kyle Busch continues to lead. First 8 cars or so, single file, as they make their way across the banking in turns 3 and 4. That's Denny Hamlin, first car hung out down in that bottom lane. So when you're racing here, always a lot of traffic, stuff going on inside, outside, in front of, and behind you. Who's your best friend, Wally?
Well, your spotter is a pretty good friend up there, because he is definitely your second set of eyes, which you need at a place like this. I mean, I think you really, and there's a great shot from a spotter right there.
Yeah, that's Jason Hedleski, who's wearing our spotter cam tonight, and boy, you can see the perspective these guys have up on the roof on the main straightaway.
Yeah, and it's a long way across looking down at the backstretch, and You know, I think a spotter, Kyle, here is more as a backup plan.
Yes.
I mean, you know, you can't completely 100% rely on them. I mean, most of the time they're right, but you have to have a feel for where these cars are and where your competition is around you all the time before you make a move.
Yeah, it is a combination. It's a combination of feeling your car and knowing that guy's on your left rear, knowing that guy's on your right rear, and that spotter talking you through it.
So, Marty, the 99 of Carl Edwards running 24th right now.
Yeah, Adam had a little bit of a water temperature, and Jason Hedleski got him into a spot where he could cool that down a little bit. The water actually 265 at one point. Jimmy Finning had a meeting with the team earlier this week, and he came with some math, which threw me off, and I'm sure throws Wally and Kyle off too. But he said, look, here's what happened at Dale Earnhardt Jr. in Michigan. They lost an engine. They lost 30 points to us, and he told everybody on the team, including Jason Hedleski, the one thing you cannot do, put us in a bad spot tonight. I'd rather finish 15th than finish 30th, as you're on board with Carl Edwards right now following Casey Mears. He said, we have to be in a spot where we can finish this race tonight. And Wally and Kyle, you know, when you're in the championship position Carl Edwards is in, you can't afford to lose a bulk of points in one night.
Okay, you know, I was watching during the commercial, I was watching his eyes, and I was curious about that, Marty. I thought, yeah, maybe he's got something going on because he was looking at the dash more than normal when you run around this place. Most of the time you're looking out the windshield and in the mirror as you follow his eyes, but he was looking down at his dash. He was obviously checking that water temperature gauge about 10 times a lap.
And overheating here, not uncommon because you get so tight in the draft, nowhere to catch air from.
Well, and it's not uncommon, and they've gone through so many iterations of what the grill opening should be and shouldn't be, and can we bump draft and can we not bump draft. And I think we saw it a lot in that first practice on Thursday. Guys working on their temperatures, whether it be the rear end temperature, when Tony Stewart had some issues and had to practice the second practice, and whether we talk about the water temperature. But once you're running in a pack, and you know you're going to run in a pack, you've got to have that temperature where it runs cold by itself, but it runs just right when you're tucked up under somebody.
Larry, we talked about some drivers that dropped to the back to ride early in this event. How about Trevor Bayne, Juan Pablo Montoya, both in the top 10 right now?
Well, we have 145 laps to go, Adam, when we talk about risk versus reward, and you think about the different agendas. When I look at Trevor Bayne in that 21 car, remember, won the 2011 Daytona 500. He's all about winning races. He runs a limited schedule. Now, look at Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42, qualified 14th up there in 8th right now. He's 23rd in points, 34 points out of the top 20. That 42 car, they need to win a race, and I think that's one reason these guys, they're not riding at the back. They're up there trying to get as close to the front all night long as they can.
And Montoya, a very capable restrictor plate racer, always has been. And the other caveat in regard to the championship, to follow up on Larry's point, he's still got Watkins Glen on the schedule. We all know what a great road racer he is. A victory here tonight could set themselves up for big things later in the summer.
Now, these guys have kind of, and for whatever reason, those first 4 or 5 laps were 2 and 3 wide. They've kind of fallen into the pattern that they fell into for the 500. They're up next to the wall, they're running their laps, and they're trying to fill it out. We can see that second pack back just off to the right as you see them come down the back stretch and some of that stuff. They're experimenting back there. They're too wide. They've dropped down. Tony's tried to drive past some people, so they're trying to figure out what their cars will do.
The balance of patience and aggression at Daytona. Kyle Busch, your leader, with 17 laps complete. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, proudly supporting our military for 100 years. Show your support for our troops at Goodyear.com. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. 21 laps in to the 160 that make up tonight's Coke Zero 400. Let's get a report from the guys downstairs going through the field, brought to you by McDonald's. Here's Ralph Shaheen.
Been pretty quiet so far down here. Most of these guys just settling in. It's been the spotters who've been doing all the talking. Kyle Busch finally just said something just now. He said a little bit tied off on the 18. That's really about it. Take note of the fact that he's won 2 races already this year, and he did them both with interstate batteries on the side of the car, Matt.
Directly in his mirrors, the white 5 of KCK. Now this team has experienced frustration the last 2 super speedway races. 36th at Daytona and 42nd at Talladega. Their game plan, to stay near the front as much as possible to try to stay out of trouble and control their own destiny, Ralph.
Menard was one of those drivers who's been pretty quiet so far. He's got 3 Daytona top 10 finishes. He's hoping for a 4th here tonight as he circulates in the 27. Joey Logano, this is one of those cars where things are really starting to click with this team. Communication has been a large part of that. But another thing that's really been happening, Chris, with the 22, let's go to yellow.
Caution on track for Paul Menard. Fire under his race car as he made his way down through the tri-oval.
Wow.
Yeah, that's blowing up big.
Yeah, and we saw this, you know, with the 29 car early in the race in February of Kevin Harvick's same team.
Yeah, no warning. Just off forward.
What'd you see, Larry?
Well, the one thing that I do know, when we see an engine failure at a restrictor plate racetrack like here at Daytona, sometimes it becomes an epidemic. You think about his teammates, Kevin Harvick and Jeff Burton. Think about Kurt Busch in that 78. They all have the ECR engine package, so I'm sure right now there's a lot of nervous people in those pits.
Yeah, and I think if I heard him right, he just said no warning. It just blew up.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like a temperature problem or anything like that. Everything was running fine, and it just went. So to Larry's point, yeah, when there's no reason for it, the other guys, the teammates, got to be worried.
Yeah, and let's you know, a lot of times when really good move by Kurt, just barely skirting by there. But a lot of times at an open or unrestricted place, engines will blow up when they're under load coming up off the corner, or when you let off on them, when everything kind of frees up and they'll let up going in the corners. You see a lot of blown engines going in the corners. This car is at full song. You can bet he's wide open in the gas, and something just catastrophic failure when it flames up like that.
Dale Jr. had a front row seat for that one. Menard was running 3rd when the engine expired. And how about this? Coming in 9 consecutive finishes outside the top 10 after a great start to 2013, spent a lot of time inside the top 10 in the championship. That 27 group simply cannot buy a break. The Coca-Cola in-car camera on Race Buddy lets you ride shotgun with a Coca-Cola Racing family driver. Go to NASCAR.com and check out the Coca-Cola in-car camera on Race Buddy. So, Larry, we'll likely see pit stops here. 24 laps complete. What do you anticipate from these teams?
Well, you guys will have a bird's eye view. We essentially have 40 drivers on the lead lap. I'm quite sure all of them will come to pit road. We're more than halfway through this fuel stop. I think you're going to see the majority of them changing 2 tires. I promise you, it's going to be like rush hour in Manhattan. It's going to be chaos on pit road during this stop.
Landon Castle had gone a lap down early. So with this caution, he is the recipient of the free pass. And this is the first time in 4 years that we've had an engine go up in smoke in a 400-mile race here at Daytona.
Really?
That's what my people are saying.
First time in 4 years someone blew an engine in the 400.
Here at Daytona, yep.
Okay.
Kyle Busch, the race leader.
I believe him.
He's led 23.
Bert and Ernie never let us down.
I was going to say, if it came from his people, who I know your people are,
yeah.
I'm going to believe
They're the
them
best.
more than you.
And my people are not Wally and Kyle, just to clarify. Kyle Busch leading him down pit road. Marty, lead us off.
Jimmy Johnson will pit from 8th, Adam. He said the water, when we are in traffic, shoots up way quick. We have to watch that car a little bit too tight. It'll be a track bar adjustment. They said be on your toes on the way out. Chris?
Kurt Busch started 22nd, moving up to 5th. Track bar or wedge adjustment on that right rear corner. Car a little loose. No tires, just fuel. Matt?
Right side tires for Casey Kane. They worked with their neighbor, the 29 of Harvick, finding out when they were going to pit route.
2 tires of fuel for Kyle Busch. Air pressure adjustment, the only change that picks that tight off on the 18. He's away.
Various strategies along the pit lane. Larry McReynolds said that's what would happen. Kyle Busch goes with 2 tires and wins the battle off the pit lane. Matt Kenseth jumps a couple of spots. And how about Kurt Busch? Fuel only. He lost 5 positions on pit road. Paul Menard has us under caution for the first time tonight at Daytona. First caution of the night in the Coke Zero 400 at Daytona. Paul Menard lost his engine. He has gone to the Sprint Cup Series garage. We had pit stops under the yellow and a tough break for Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin, I'm sure he's wanting to start a race at some point in time and get through the first few laps without an incident. Look at the 78 car, but look at the 11. He starts to pull out of his pits, but he's blocked in by the 51 of A.J. Allmendinger. At this point in time, they just give up on keeping their position. They back up. He puts it in reverse. They back up into their pit box. They go ahead and finish the stop. They change 4 tires. For a lot of the front runners who just changed right side tires, they go ahead and change 4, make sure it's full of fuel. Then he came in running 14th. He goes out running 30 or 39th, I guess, right along in there. So huge. It's not a mistake on Denny's part. It's just like Larry said. A lot of traffic on pit road.
Let's hear from Paul Menard, Marty.
Out of the car, and I think very surprised by what happened. Did the water temp get too high, or what would have caused that, Paul?
Absolutely no warning. Yeah, water was 225, and we're just kind of just riding there. Car was really good, handled great. Kind of biding our time for the first pit stop. Came off turn 4, and something just let go, and it wasn't smoking. It broke, and I could hear it, and then felt the heat come up. I didn't know that if I was on fire or not, but
there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it was on fire for sure, but I couldn't feel it right away. Kurt Bell took us out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, just unfortunate. We needed a good run, and had a really good car today. Good Remenard Chevy.
And I did talk to Danny Lawrence, who's the head engine builder for Richard Childress Racing. I said, are you concerned now about the company as a whole with all the engines like Larry Mack mentioned? He said, I have no idea what happened, but I'm not concerned. This should be an isolated incident, but again, this shouldn't have happened in the first place. Adam.
Thank you, Marty. We'll continue to keep an eye on his teammates as the evening goes on. Let's check out our nationwide caution count. Most cautions in the 400-miler, 12. Fewest, 2 on 10 different occasions. An average number of cautions in this race, 7. It's over the last 10 years. The outside lane has been the play so far, but some drivers work in the inside groove. Listen in.
The bottom line work the best right there, just staying away. Yeah, 10-4, I told Chad on the other radio that. You might want to relay it to TJ. But...
Yeah, I was watching some of the lap times during that, and when those guys were down on that bottom line, they were a little bit faster than the top line, almost by 2 miles per hour, a couple laps.
We've cleaned up the situation with Paul Menard. We're going to go back green as we complete lap 28 here at Daytona. Kyle Busch got his teammate up there with him now. That's Matt Kenseth in the 20 behind him, giving him a shove.
Yeah, about to see how strong these Toyotas are. With Kyle and Kenseth, there goes Jimmy Johnson to the bottom, and we'll see how good the Chevys are right now.
And he's got a teammate waiting on him. That's Casey Kane in the 5 machine that sucks right up behind the 5-time champion.
See that dust from that stay dry. It takes your breath when you see it for the first time when they come through there.
Probably like it if your spotter gives you a little heads up on that, huh?
It's, when the race started, Matt and those guys got caught in that middle lane. There is no middle lane. That is a black hole, believe me. It just sucks them straight to the back, it seemed like. Yeah, it's a 2-lane racetrack, and it's 2 lanes that are fast. And the bottom lane can be faster. The problem is when these guys qualify, when these guys run, they run the bottom lane. But the momentum that outside line gets and kind of keeps going. And the arrow, the way the wind works when you get up here and you're side by side, it just stops that inside line for some reason.
Noticed under caution a moment ago, Kevin Harvick, one of the last guys down pit road, Matt.
When the caution came out at him, Harvick was in 40th position. Gil Martin and Kenny Francis conversed about their strategies. Gil told Kenny that the 29 was going to stay out, hoping to lead a lap, if not at least hit pit road without a lot of other cars around them to take away that chance of an incident early on. Harvick took 4 tires. The game plan pre-race, 4 tires to give them a better opportunity later to 2 or no tires, just fuel only.
The thing is, right now, Harvick's, I think he's the last car, one of the last cars in that line, and as we talked earlier about it, you do not want to lose. You go down a lap here in about 10 or 15 laps if you lose that draft, so got to be careful.
You know, before we got that caution, Jimmy Johnson, one of the drivers that was trying to work that inside line. With Casey Kane behind him, they've got it working now. He has lost no ground at all to Kyle Busch at the front of this field. What's up, Marty?
Well, you guys heard the conversation earlier, Adam, between the 48 and the 88 teams, Jimmy Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr., where they're trying to get the bottom line to work. As you mentioned, they kind of discovered it by accident. The water temperature got too high for Jimmy, and they were way back in the pack, Adam. They ran all the way to the front. He got to the top 10, and they noticed the bottom line will indeed work. But I can't imagine, Kyle and Wally, how frustrating it must be up there, because you're there, you just can't get past the car right beside you.
Yeah, and you've got to it maybe takes 2 or 3 cars to really get in a line to make any moves. But when I say make a move, you make a move maybe a car length or 2, and that's all you get.
Jimmy Johnson looking good right now in that inside lane. Last time around, it was Kyle Busch that showed the way. He's led 29 laps tonight. Jimmy Johnson leads with 36 laps complete here tonight. Casey Kane right behind him, and their teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. was in the top 10 when we went to break. Got shuffled in the wrong direction while we were away.
Yeah, that inside line got up there and cleared the first 5 or 6 cars in that inside line, cleared the outside line. And then Joey stepped to the outside, and about the time Joey stepped to the outside, Junior went to the inside, and they split those guys, and he went back, and Joey just kind of lost that inside draft.
Trevor Bayne has done a nice job hanging in the top 10 tonight, Chris.
Yeah, he has. You guys have been talking about that inside line working. Trevor Bayne has been making the inside and the middle lane working. He dropped outside the top 10 after that last pit stop and worked his way back up to the top 5 right now. You know, a lot of teams didn't even participate in the second practice on Thursday, but Trevor Bayne and the Wood brothers, they went all the way till the end of that practice, really trying to make that car comfortable, and obviously it's worked.
Right now, they're one of the 5 Fords inside the top 10, Chris. You see Joey Logano in that outside lane. He's got a blue oval on the front of his race car, and Bayne right behind Marcos Ambrose. And here you on board with Carl Edwards, one of the other Fords riding up front tonight.
This is a great shot. Kind of shows you how the cars are moving around a little bit, and they actually look pretty good. The 21 looks very strong tonight.
What do you see, Larry?
Well, I've been watching this Ford camp, and if you go back to last year at the 2 Daytona races and the 2 Talladega races, if you were going to sit on the pole or win the race, you were going to have to beat a Ford driver. I think when we got here for Speed Weeks in February, the Fords got caught off guard. They did not have speed. They've done a lot of work. If you look at Talladega, the top 3, they were all Fords, and I'm seeing a lot of strength out of the Ford camp because, as you mentioned, 4 or 5 up there in the top 10 right now.
What's NASCAR driver Greg Biffle's favorite ride? Watch Behind the Mic. Powered by Ford at BleacherReport.com/Behind the Mic to find out. Biffle won this race 10 years ago. First career victory for the driver out of the Ford camp.
It's good to see that bottom line working. We don't see that. It doesn't seem like it. It's always been like in Talladega and places. That top line seems to be the real strong line, but it's good to see that bottom line working.
Yeah, it's good to see the bottom line working because as it does, you see people continue to try to make that top line work. So we get a lot of side-by-side racing, and guys aren't just getting away from each other. We see these guys back here farther in the pack. They're 3 wide.
But Wally and Kyle, I think it took Jimmy Johnson in that 48 to move to the bottom right before that caution to kind of show some other drivers we can make this bottom groove work.
Yeah, it'll be interesting later in the race to see which lane they choose. And we see it down here. It's been this way for years. For a while, the racing will be on the bottom, then it'll move to the top. In recent years, it's been on the top of the racetrack. Is this a sign that at this racetrack, it's coming back to the bottom? I think Jimmy just has his car really working well.
I think one thing that will tell you is if we get a caution where the leader wants to restart.
Good point.
That's going to be what that's going to be the telltale.
Casey Kane contently riding in second right now, Matt.
During that first run, Adam, he felt more comfortable running up top, and he was hoping via the spotters. Kevin Hamlin talked to his teammate Earl Barbin, Jimmy Johnson's spotter, about maybe moving to the high side. They preferred staying at the bottom, but Kenny Francis told Casey, looking at the lap times, I feel like things have changed a little bit, and we've got great lap times on the bottom. Let's just ride there.
Jimmy Johnson quite comfortable out front. That's where he was when the Daytona 500 wrapped up here some 5 months ago. He's now led 10 laps, 41 complete at the World Center of Racing. 45 laps complete in the Coke Zero 400 powered by Coca-Cola. We're live at Daytona International Speedway. Jimmy Johnson, the race leader. Casey Kane right behind him. Greg Biffle, Marcos Ambrose, and Denny Hamlin, who was 39th after those pit stops 20 laps ago, is rallied back inside the top 5. Now, other end of the spectrum, you've got Kevin Harvick. He's 41st right now. Matt, what are they thinking in the 29 camp at this stage?
Adam, his lap times were mirroring that of leader Jimmy Johnson, but Wally, you touched on it perfectly. Kevin Harvick came on the radio and told Gil Martin, we may be in trouble here. I'm losing the front pack. And he has since closed up a little bit, but they told Harvick that if you get in trouble, we'll send Burton to the back to help pull you back into the pack.
Yeah, Matt, that's, you know, and that's one thing. When you're the very last car in line and you don't have anybody helping you, that's when you start to lose, you know, the draft. But as you can see, he pulled up a little bit, and we got to come up with a name this thing. Barrel Cam, Horizon Cam, Chili Cam, what?
Make me drunk cam.
It's gonna,
what do you want to call it? I don't know.
It's a cool cam.
It is a cool camera, but here's the thing: is you can send somebody to the back to help somebody, but this is not bump drafting. You don't pick up 4 miles an hour on the leader. You just maintain and run the same speed as the leader, and you don't get caught up. The racing at Daytona and Talladega is different now when you drop to the back, and we've seen guys get dropped from the pack and all but get lapped.
Now you see he's behind David Gillen right now in the 38 car, and you can see that Harvick keeps pulling up to him, and that's, I think, what's saving him right now. His car's a little, it's better enough to where he's getting some draft and he can pull up on that car. But, you know, but this group in front of him is starting to stretch out from the main pack too. So you do not want to lose ground on the fast pack, the lead pack.
Yeah, if you see the packet that he's racing with, that he's at the tail end, there's 4 or 5 car lengths between each one of those cars. If we go back to Jimmy Johnson and those guys at the front, you couldn't put a Prius between those cars. They're that close together.
Yeah.
They're really close in that front pack. So as those guys get spread out, and it's lap after lap, and it's 15 foot this lap, 15 foot the next lap, and the next thing you know.
And the thing is, if this thing goes green,
yes,
which it probably won't, but if it does go green, that's where you get hammered the most, is when you come down pit lane and you leave after your pit stop, and then there's nobody around to draft.
Nobody.
If you get a caution, do you change your philosophy and not hang back there?
Yes,
Yeah.
you're nervous right now. I'm telling you, they've got to be sweating a little bit at this point.
Kyle Busch led 29 laps early. Right now, he's 14th, Ralph.
Adam, at 200 miles an hour, which these drivers are obtaining here tonight, you're traveling the length of a football field every second. That's 100 yards at that warp speed. Hard to believe Kyle Busch would just say on the radio, I'm wide open, I haven't lifted yet, and I ain't going anywhere. Oh, the frustrations of racing super speedways, Marty.
And Ralph, back there, Carl Edwards too. You saw him dice down to the middle. He's trying to get out of that pack if he can. Water right now, 250. He just radioed Jimmy Finning, I cannot get the engine to cool down. And you see that gap he's got from Joey Logano. That's what he wants. The water at, again, 250. But Jimmy Finning said the limit, Carl, is 260. So you see him dropping back intentionally. And Wally, I'm sure he was watching those gauges like you pointed out earlier. When the water gets that high, you got to get out of the draft.
He has been, Marty. And also, even when he was in line following those guys, he was ducking out from the 21 car to try to get some air on that. So, you know, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. I mean, it's cooling down. If that thing's still getting hot, he's going to have to stay on top of that.
Yeah, now, he's going to have to stay on top of it. Now, let's go back to the 29 car and their woes at the back of the pack, if we want to call them woes. With these guys in mid-pack running 3 wide, that helps the 29 car, because that backpack will be able to close up some and will be able to suck up some on the draft, because now you've got 3 guys going 3 wide down, and it'll bunch that pack back up together a little bit, and they could catch back up.
But now you've got the first 6 or 7 guys in line breaking away from the pack you were just talking about. So.
Yeah, and that's why we say anybody can win this thing. Just put yourself in the right place at the right time at the end of the race when the checkered flag comes, because you see so much seesawing and so much jockeying for position going on at this time.
And you know, you talked about the 18 car of Kyle Busch's frustrations. I mean, your car's handling well, and like he said, I haven't taken my foot off the floor yet he's been all over the map. He's been first. He's been, I don't even know he's running now. He's down around 13th or 14th, and he hasn't lifted. Think about that.
Yes.
You haven't lifted, and you went from the front to 14th, and this is just a chess game, and you have to make your moves, and your moves may change every single lap depending on the cars around you. That's what makes this racing so interesting.
Yeah, I thought Tony put it great at the beginning. It's like a quarterback, just calling an audible when you get to the line, and every lap you call an audible, your plan changes.
Denny Hamlin has been on the move since that last restart, Chris, up to 7th now.
Yeah, he is, and one thing, I'm hearing a lot of drivers talking about water temp right now. Denny Hamlin, one of those, that threshold being 260, 270 degrees, where these cars start pushing water out. Denny Hamlin saying he's in the 240 range right now as he's run that car essentially all the way from the back up to the front after that pit stop where he got caught here in pit lane. So it's been a frustrating month for Denny Hamlin, but tonight at least it seems like it's going his way. He's got that car to the front, but a lot of drivers right now really paying attention to that water temp that drivers are saying anywhere from 240 to 250 degrees right now.
Thanks, Chris. Stay tuned to learn more about the Sprint 60 Unlimited. It's the shortest race in NASCAR history, and it's happening later tonight. Everything Island. Kyle, you're a Coke family driver. Did you get invited to the island this weekend?
I got voted off the island.
I'm not a Coke family driver, but that island sounds pretty good.
That's a cool place.
Enjoy
that
Everything Island.
Cool.
Enjoy Everything
Island.
Playing music out there and plenty, I promise, of Coke Zero being served. 57 laps in to the 160 lapper here at Daytona tonight. Jimmy Johnson leading. 26 laps he's been out front and quickly closing on Kyle Busch for most laps led tonight. Rowdy led the first 29. Jamie McMurray last week a runner-up at Kentucky. I guess he's not satisfied, Chris.
No, he's not. I talked to him earlier this week, and I asked him, how many more laps did you need to chase down Matt Kenseth? He said, I think I could have done it in about 5 laps. The car was so good. Tonight, he started 27th up to 3rd right now. So, again, a really strong car for Jamie McMurray. Only thing he said is that car just a little bit tight.
Jamie won the Daytona 500 here in 2010. He won this race in 07.
Yeah, Jamie's one of those guys you never count out at Daytona. He or a restrictor plate race. He runs good on these racetracks. He's one of those guys that gets it.
A lot of conversation tonight, Larry, about the temperatures running hot. What can you share with us?
Well, crew chiefs at a place like Daytona get very aggressive with tape on the front end because any tape you put right here, it helps the aerodynamics. It helps cut downforce and helps the drag. NASCAR mandates the size of this opening. It cannot be bigger than 1 3/4 inches tall and 23 inches wide. It appears that Jimmy Finning, the crew chief of Carl Edwards, he has 2 pieces of tape on both sides. I think what they're going to have to do on this next pit stop, they're going to have to reach in here and pull one off, maybe even go over here and pull a second one off and let more air through this opening.
Doesn't look like a lot, Larry, but I'll tell you what, it is, isn't it? As far as when you're talking about downforce on these cars, I don't know what percentage you can put on it, but boy, you could feel it in the seat. Bring back Larry.
Yeah, Carl Edwards will tell you Jimmy Finning is the king of front-end tape every racetrack.
There you see Carl Edwards deep in the draft. Got Tony Stewart back there with him, right behind him. Clint Boyer running back there, and you see the tape on the front of Edwards' machine.
Yeah, you can see the tape that Larry was talking about. A couple of pieces on one side, a couple of pieces on the other.
Jimmy Johnson leads. Casey Kane, Jamie McMurray, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Brad Keselowski, the top 5 with 60 laps complete here at Daytona. Take an inside look and get unlimited access to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series with a free NASCAR Mobile 13 app and truly unlimited data on the Sprint Network. Most laps led tonight. The man who's on point right now, Jimmy Johnson, 32 circuits in the lead. No metering, no throttling, and no overages, all while on the Sprint Network. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. So Jimmy spent a lot of time out front here this evening. He used to be a guy that believed in riding in the back and trying to stay out of trouble. But you know, when he won the 500 here earlier this year, average running position 5th. Kyle Busch He's led 29 laps tonight. He's 11th right now. They're already talking about his green flag pit stop.
What do you need? I need everything that drives evil. Loose in, tight off, sometimes loose off. It's just, oh boy.
I think in a lot of that, sometimes, it depends on where you're at in the draft. The car may do one thing the same for 5, 6, 7 laps in a row, and then all of a sudden it does the complete opposite. And a lot of it has to do with where you are in the draft. If you're in the middle, if you're, where you position yourself, and sometimes that gets to be a handful, especially this time of the run when, it's time for tires and it's time to come in for a pit stop.
Kyle Busch started on the pole tonight. One of 4 drivers to have led laps. 29, he's been out front. J.J. Yaley led on a cycle of pit stops earlier, and Matt Kenseth, who started on the front row, led the first lap, has not been out there since. This is one of the best parts to me about restrictor plate racing. The communication. You go up top to the spotter stand, and all these guys are communicating with their crew chiefs and other spotters, so you have a drafting partner when you come down pit road.
Not only that, though, Adam, you want to make sure you don't get run over when you're coming to pit lane. If you're following somebody or somebody's following you, you want them to know when they're coming into the pits, because when you get off the throttle and you come down pit lane, you all want to be on the same page.
Left of your screen, our spotter cam. Jason Hedleski looking high above Daytona. Larry?
Yeah, every time we get to our first green flag pit stop at a place like Daytona or Talladega, it's exciting because they're out there running almost 200 miles per hour, and then they're trying to get down to 55 miles per hour. You need a partner on the racetrack, but you need those partners to come to pit road. But I think the whole secret is making sure that you don't slide those tires, especially coming in if your crew chief has decided maybe I just want to change 2 tires on this stop.
But another thing you've noticed, Larry, they've all moved to the bottom of the racetrack.
And there's Truex right there in that 56. You saw him sliding those left side tires coming in.
They're still smoking.
Wow.
First set of drivers on the pit lane. Green flag pit stops underway, Marty.
Martin Truex Jr. sliding to a stop. He has said nothing on the radio except, guys, don't all talk at the same time. Very happy with the chassis. A little slow in the right front there. 4 tires, Ralph.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. pits. Kyle Busch pits just in front of him. They go to the right side of the 88 car. He will take 2 tires. Now they come to the left. They're going to take 4 there as well. Kyle Busch is going to take 4. He also made a chassis adjustment. Fuel done to the 88 is away.
Kyle Busch also pulling out of his pit stall. First drivers coming down at lap 68. These are routine stops under green at Daytona. And a whole host of drivers now slowing down, coming through the tri-oval, making scheduled green flag pit stops. Jimmy Johnson, the race leader, continues on track. Let's go to Chris.
Jamie McMurray saying this car a little bit tight early in the run, a little bit loose late in the run. Going to make an air pressure adjustment to the right rear. Matt Kenseth also coming into pit lane, going to make an air pressure adjustment on that car, saying a little too free down in turn 1 and 2.
And now we get a caution. And we understand it's for Joey Logano. Sparks flying below the Shell Pennzoil Ford.
We're rolling. Do you want to come to pit road or garage? I can't tell. Come to the pit. We're all here. Okay, come on to the pit.
11 consecutive finishes.
It broke the rotor off it. To the garage, to the garage.
Wow. You see the pieces coming off the car as he comes around. Pieces of tire, pieces from underneath it.
Yeah, pieces of the rotor. If that's the rotor, you do not want to hit one of those things. Just.
Here's a replay of what happened to Joey Logano.
It looks like a tire went down or something, because he shot up the racetrack like a tire went down or something broke.
Yeah, that thing turned hard right. Hard right.
You watch him right there. Yeah, if when a car just shoots up the racetrack like that, obviously something.
Easy. Keep coming here. Keep coming.
And that's a lot of times that's when it happens right before you're going to make your pit stop.
11th or better in the last 6 races. Joey had jumped to 10th in the championship entering tonight's race, and as you can see, that lonely drive into the Sprint Cup garage. Landon Castle, once again, the first car 1 lap down. Second time tonight he has received the free pass. A number of drivers had made pit stops under green. The top 21 had not made a pit stop, Larry.
Yeah, what I'm seeing, though, and this is part of making a green flag pit stop at a 2.5-mile racetrack, and depending on where the leader's at when the caution comes out, but it appears to me, looking at my scoring monitor, all the drivers that made green flag stops, they've stayed on the lead lap. So it appears to me Denny Hamlin will be leading this race after all of our leaders like Jimmy Johnson makes this pit stop.
Jimmy Johnson and the rest of the front runners coming down pit road now. Let's go to Marty.
Well, and to Larry Mack's point, Chad Canal's very upset because he said, Jimmy, we're going to be very deep on this restart. You're going to have to be very patient. The car for Jimmy just a little bit too tight. He's on the top left-hand side of your screen. They're going to make a track bar adjustment. They're also going to take 4 tires here. Chris?
Kurt Busch been running the top 10 all night. Going to do two tires right now. Going to do 4 tires on this stop. His big question over this last run twice. What happened to the 27th engine, Matt?
And the 5 of Casey Kane is in. 4 tires for the 5 of Kane. The first stop, they took 2. He's away. Empty box exiting.
4 tires and fuel and a small chassis adjustment on the left rear for the 16 of Greg Biffle. He was tight. They tried to free him up a little bit. Good pit stop for the 16.
And the battle off pit road, Jimmy Johnson losing no positions. But let's remember, a number of drivers had pitted under green. We'll reset the running order when we can continue. The pit lane, a dangerous place tonight. Wow. Closing on 9 o'clock in the East. NASCAR on TNT live at Daytona International Speedway. It's the Coke Zero 400, powered by Coca-Cola. Under caution for the second time tonight, a problem for Joey Logano. Our first caution of the evening when Paul Menard blew up. David Reagan assumes the race lead. Kevin Harvick running second. The reason why they have not yet made pit stops under caution, they will here. And this a big break, the caution for Kevin Harvick, who was laying back and nearly lost the draft. Now a replay of what happened on the Carl Edwards stop a moment ago. We showed it to you going to break. Colin Pawsey right here.
Yeah, he just
front
clean in the grill, but boy, to a driver, and he get his foot caught underneath that splitter.
Yeah.
And, you know, for a driver, normally when the jack is dropped, that's his signal to go. So, you know, Carl Edwards did what he's supposed to do, but he just didn't quite get out of the way quick enough.
Hard to believe, but he limped away and is doing just fine now, Marty.
Yeah, he limped away and he just did that pit stop again, Adam. And actually what happened is his left shoe got caught underneath the splitter of the car and actually had the left shoe. The shoe actually came apart. Look, the shoe came apart, and that saved him right there. The shoe came apart. He was able to walk away just fine. And you know what they were doing? He was pulling that tape we've been talking about for 10 minutes off of the grill, trying to get Carl Edwards' car a little bit cooler, but thank goodness to the shoe, everything was all good.
Yeah, that was ugly looking because he got it hung under the splitter, and then as he went down, the tire actually rolled over his foot. But the way, evidently it was flat at the time, his leg was laying flat, and it didn't. Must not have broken anything because he's back out there pulling tape and doing his job. Good job.
He's got a lot of adrenaline going right now. Might be a little sore tomorrow.
Yeah, it could be a little sore when they get back to North Carolina.
Kevin Harvick has now made his pit stop, Matt.
The caution came out a lap early for Harvick. He had planned on pitting with teammate Jeff Burton, who at the time was running mid-pack up in 17th. Basically, though, when the caution came out, Harvick's at the back. They decided once again, stay out, let the other competitors pit, then wait as long as they could, hoping to possibly lead a lap. But he finally hit pit road in the second position. A chassis adjustment across the back, and also 4 tires again for Harvick.
When we go back green, there'll be 40 cars on the lead lap. Denny Hamlin, the race leader. Jamie McMurray second. Matt Kenseth, Juan Pablo Montoya, the top 4. Top 14 drivers in the running order made pit stops under green. Those guys that came in under caution running 15th on back at the restart.
kind of noticed they're a little bit tighter together that time.
Yes.
Yeah, trying to avoid that three wide racing.
You saw Denny go all the way to the yellow line to try to break that side draft a little bit and just get a car length on him.
It's Hamlin down the inside, Jamie McMurray in that outside lane. Teammates working together at the front. Joe Gibbs train on the bottom, outside. Earnhardt Ganassi teammates, McMurray with Montoya right behind him. Danica Patrick up in the mix now. First woman to lead laps under green in a Sprint Cup race here in the Daytona 500. And how about, is that Michael Waltrip a little slow in the middle lane? Kurt Busch driving to the outside of him.
I just don't trying to figure out how that middle works. I mean, you know, you have to have a lot of people cooperate in front of you for that middle lane to come up to the front of the pack.
And the thing, you see Kyle Busch on the outside there, he in the 55 car, they're almost trying to make it 3 wide. They're trying to drive up there and make that outside line be that middle line to keep them forced down next to Denny Hamlin and Matt Kenseth there.
Got Hendrick teammates running the middle. Dale Jr., Johnson behind him. Third in line, Jeff Gordon, who's won here 6 times. Reason for the second caution of the night, Joey Logano, who's in the garage, Marty.
And Adam, we saw his car take a very hard right. Was it a mechanical problem or was it a tire issue, Joey?
We had a tire failure there, right front. It's just surprising to me a tire that hard can blow out. So I don't really know what it was. It looks like a shoulder fail or whatever, but the wear holes are still in the tire, so it doesn't really make a whole bunch of sense to me right now. But it's a big hit for us in the points more than anything. So we'll get the Shell Pennzoil Ford out there and put some new right front suspension on it, and hopefully gain a couple points for nights out. So it's frustrating.
You did have a good run going. Which line seems to be working best to you, bottom or top?
Well, I was surprised the last run, we were running the bottom mostly, and the bottom seemed to be the dominant lane, and it seems like wherever the leader goes. At the bottom, it didn't seem like when the guys are running the bottom, the top lane can kind of form a little bit, but when you're running the top, there's no bottom lane at all, so it's just different. Everyone was just kind of feeling it out and seeing where the race was going, and no one was pushing too hard yet, and unfortunately for us, our right front blew out when we smacked the fence.
As he mentioned, Adam, for championship points for these guys, it's going to be a big hit. They just got back into the top 10 this week.
As they run, Marty, he's 14th in the championship. Denny Hamlin, the race leader, a couple of laps away from halfway here at the World Center of Racing. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, proudly supporting our military for 100 years. Show your support for our troops at Goodyear.com. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. 82 laps complete. Just past halfway in the Coke Zero 400. Denny Hamlin leads. Matt Kenseth, Dale Jr., Jamie McMurray, and Juan Pablo Montoya make up the top 5. Running 11th right now, A.J. Allmendinger. That bright pink and yellow car in the inside lane. 1 year ago, prior to this race, indefinitely suspended by NASCAR, went through the Road to Recovery program after violating the sport's substance abuse policy. He's done so many great things since then. Led laps of the Indianapolis 500, got his first NASCAR win a couple of weeks ago, driving for Roger Penske at Road America. Impressive here tonight as well. And not too far behind him, Danica Patrick. So great in the Daytona 500. First female to start on the pole. Led laps like we talked about earlier. Finished 8th. Best finish by a lady in the Great American Race. And she too now getting racy in that lead pack.
All these guys are looking a little more dicey than it did a little while ago.
Yeah, a lot more. And this is we said it at the top of the show. And you talk about Danica and the 500. This is a different race than that. Basically she's run 3 races if you look at the restrictor plate stuff from Daytona to Talladega to here. And all 3 of them have really been 3 totally different types of racing. What we saw at Talladega was similar to this, but this is not something that she experienced at Daytona here in February when everybody really just got in line and run their laps.
Yeah, these guys are, they can race these cars a lot better now that they're working better than they did prior in the Daytona 500. That gives you a good shot of, yeah, it's hard to see her eyes with the glare, but, you know, she's in the middle of the pack, and there's a lot of things you got to pay attention to when you're running right here. Like I said, we said earlier, you got to look out the front, you got to look at the back, the sides, you're listening to your spotter, you know, you're checking your gauges.
You can see her move her helmet right there. She'll look, you see her eyes right there. She's looking in the mirror, listening to what her spotter's telling her and paying attention to what's going around her.
And that's the hardest, you know, that's the hardest place to be right now, is when you've got cars all over the place. I mean, you're the busiest where you are right now.
Look who's running right behind her.
Well, you got your boyfriend behind you, so that helps a little bit, but you know, it doesn't take long for that to switch up.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. also trying to win Rookie of the Year honors this season. Comes into this race, yet to record a top 10 this season. It's hard to believe he's been very consistent.
And see, what she's got to be careful of, where she's running right now, see where the 21 is? You know, she wants to stay in the pack, but she also wants to make sure that somebody doesn't get to her right and put her in the middle. Because if she gets in the middle, then she's going to drop back.
How about Stenhouse, Marty?
It's all a learning process, Adam. It's funny, I was talking to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. yesterday, and he said, you know, honestly, Daytona 500 in Talladega was the first time I ever really drafted, because when I ran in Nationwide, we ran that tandem drafting. He said it was a whole new experience for me, completely different. And Wally and Kyle, is managing your race, isn't it? Knowing what line to be in at what time. That's really key in plate racing, isn't it?
But you also got to be really defensive when you're back there where these guys are running right now. Because like I said, you keep seeing the 21 try to ditch out to the right-hand side. You don't want to get yourself put in a position that you don't want to be, because another driver got on the outside of you.
Denny Hamlin just led his 15th lap. He appears very comfortable in the lead, Larry.
Well, Adam, we use the phrase sometimes about a driver needs to win a race or a driver wants to win a race, and I think that's the case for all 43 drivers that started this 400-mile race tonight. But when I look at Denny Hamlin in an 11 car, remember, was out for 4 races with an injury from the Auto Club Speedway wreck that he had with Joey Logano. This is Denny's 8th season to be in Sprint Cup, full-time season. He's never won a season that he didn't make the chase. Let's face it, that ship has sailed. He's 104 points out of the top 20, but he has never won a season without winning at least one race. This is a guy, it's all about winning, I think, for the rest of this year.
And Larry, he's one of those drivers, has a lot of Cup experience, never won on a restrictor plate track. Time for our Cars.com. All drive, no drama. The focus, Denny Hamlin. And there are his numbers at Daytona. 15 starts, a pair of top 10s. He's on point right now. He's led 16 laps tonight. 92 laps complete of the 160 that make up this 400-mile event. The 18th race of the year for NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Denny Hamlin hanging on to the race lead in that bottom lane, but maybe not for long. McMurray making gains outside, and he's got some help from Jimmy Johnson as we go 3 wide.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Johnson seems to have the strongest car out there tonight, and he can make either lane work. And when you have a car that's good, you're going to have a lot of people that want to go with you. I mean, obviously, at least until the end of the race, you know, you want to stay on his tail. But yeah, the 48 car is awfully strong.
All 4 Hendrick cars inside the top 10 right now. We talk about Johnson. Jeff Gordon enjoying a great night. The 4-time champion as they run has jumped into the top 10 in the championship chase. There you see Kane, who started up front, is 7th, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. 10th right now in the running order. I mentioned Danica Patrick a moment ago. She was back around 15th, 16th, 17th. She's now in the top 10, being scored in the 9th position as Jamie McMurray and Jimmy Johnson push their way to the front in that outside lane.
There's a lot there. 42. Oh, man, I'll tell you what. I don't think he got into Matt, but boy, Matt sure got loose there. And when you make that kind of move at the tri-oval, you get loose. You lose the air on the rear of the car, so that did a good job there.
Was that orchestrated for Matt Kyle to pick up Kyle?
I think the 42 looks like he doesn't know where he wants to go right now. He's been inside, outside, middle.
And there he makes the move on the 20, and they both lose positions, you know, and they both drop to the back.
Okay, this is coming off of 4, and 42 gets right up on the 20. I don't know if they're making any contact, but we'll take a look here. awfully close. But you see the 20 had to backpedal because all of a sudden the cars on the right went past them.
And see, now we're back at this stage where the middle to the top of the racetrack is working again. And I think if you've got a really good car, like that 48, like the Hendrick cars seem to be, and we look at this, and you go down the list, McMurray, Johnson, Gordon, Kane, Patrick, Earnhardt, Allmendinger. These guys these are Hendrick power plants in these cars, you know, when you look at them. So these are strong cars, and they can go. They seem to be able to go wherever they want to go right now.
I'm also curious to see, I think it's been about 25 laps since we've made a pit stop. If maybe these cars start going to the high side because the tires are being worn off a little bit.
Yeah, well, they've ventured away from that 3 wide and right on each other's corner panels and stuff. They've just gone back to letting the car go where they want to go.
Want to join us live at Daytona next year? Head to mcr.com/Coke0400 for the chance to win a trip for 2 to the 2014 Coke 0400 and a new 2014 Chevy Camaro 2 SL. Under caution for the 3rd time tonight. Montoya involved. You see the damage for Truex. Now let's look at the replay at what happened.
You look at the run Denny has on the 56. It's almost like he got the 56 of Martin Truex arrow loose. He never touched him. But sometimes when you have such a run on a guy in the corner like that, you can get somebody that loose. But I'm just, that's what it looked like. I don't know if the 56 just broke loose or.
Yeah, because you see the 56 almost start to get sideways before they ever touch. Before they ever touch from that angle, it looks like.
But what?
Wow, the 18 is right there.
Watch from the 18 car. Let's see.
I think
what kind
he got
of a run the
damage.
11 has.
I think Kyle Busch got a little damage on that right front headlight.
That's Denny in front of him. Oh, they did get a little tag on there. Boy, that Truex, we talked about the opening, had such a good run going the last 3 races. It's going to hurt him in the points a little bit.
Pit road is closed. The leaders will be there when we come back. Jamie McMurray leads 1 lap shy of 100 at Daytona. Cleaning up our 3rd caution of the night at Daytona in the Coke 0400, powered by Coca-Cola. 3 drivers involved: Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Juan Pablo Montoya, and a little damage for Kyle Busch as well. Jimmy Johnson's been fast on track. He's led 39 laps. Turns out he's fast on pit road as well.
Yeah, see him exit his pit stop. This is a tight shot here.
Hey guys, pit selection definitely helped him because he's pitted in the first pit box coming in. He can run as fast as he wants for about 7 or 8 pits till he gets to that next timing line.
Yeah, it looked like he was going a lot faster because the 16 was coming in.
That's right.
Well, I didn't see that when we saw the replay during the commercial, but that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, and he's on pit road, and he pits and he starts out as other cars are coming in. So he's going to be behind cars that aren't in their pits yet.
Jason Hedleski is the spotter for Carl Edwards. He had a great perspective of that wreck that happened a moment ago. Listen in.
They're back to 2x2 up there, about P10. Your helper. Record right here in front of you. Record right here in front of you. Just slow it down here. Slow it down. Stay high. Stay high. Watch the 11. You might come right across the grass. You're good. Yellow's out. Yellow's out.
Man, that's great spotting right there.
Yes. And you see Juan's just an innocent bystander there, just on the inside, and they come back across the racetrack and gather him up right there.
Truex now scored in the 40th position, and he's dropped outside the top 10 in the championship, Marty.
Yeah, Adam, in Countdown and Green, we talked about him going the right direction. This is not the right direction you wanted, and you had made no changes on your car. What happened there?
I'm not real sure, to be honest with you. I watched the replay. I couldn't really even tell if he hit us or not, or if it was just air. it was strange. Like it felt like my left rear tire blew out. It happened so fast. So I'm not sure exactly if I was just in the worst position possible when the 11 came up on us. I mean, yeah, you could see it before he ever touched us. I was turning sideways, and totally unexpected because our car had been really good all night. It definitely never showed any signs of being loose. I think it was just that situation we were in. It just spun it around. I hate it for our guys. I mean, we had a good race car. We're just trying to take it easy and bide our time. Obviously, riding there, trying to stay in line and take it easy. So we definitely needed to finish tonight. This is going to hurt us pretty bad.
Back to green, Adam.
McMurray and Johnson on the front row, Marty. Green flag goes in the air as we complete lap 104. Number 2 position in that outside lane belongs to Danica Patrick. Great pit work for them a moment ago, and Jeff Gordon on the inside lane.
Now, I think this is when you want to, we talked about all race, position yourself. I think you need to position yourself as close to the front as possible because you've got to come in and make a pit stop, and you want to be able to, maybe fuel only depends on if it's going to be a green or a yellow pit stop. But if it is a green pit stop, you're better off in the front part of this group than you are the back because you can lose that pack real easy during pit stops.
Remember in the 500, Danica Patrick, 3rd on the final lap, finished 8th. Very disappointed in herself. Here's what she's saying about the late laps tonight.
Thinking about, obviously how it ended last year. So I'd say that if we start getting really stopped up with runs, like we're having to lift a lot, maybe that's the point in time that I'll mention it and you see if people are going to go with me, and we'll see if that happens. Also, if other people want to go, you just let me know. Obviously, we've got a lot of Hendrick cars up here, a lot of Chevys, so, if they want to make something happen, I'm happy to join.
Yeah, that's pretty good stuff right there, because basically what she's saying is if they start getting bunched up, if somebody will go with me, I'll just go ahead and run wide open and move lanes and go someplace different. If somebody else is going to go, I'm willing to go with them.
She's got a pretty good drafting partner right now, Matt.
And Danica Patrick working that outside lane. Now, Jimmy Johnson told her after the Daytona 500 that every race you run, you put yourself in more and more situations and you learn what this car needs, but also how to handle this car and put yourself in various scenarios to learn and try to take advantage. And that's exactly what she's done. Right now, though, Tony Gibson told her her fuel window will open up at lap 112. Anytime after 112 they pit, she's good to go the distance, trying to keep that car up front for better track position.
And you see Jimmy Johnson switching lanes. I mean, he's got a teammate down there on the bottom in Jeff Gordon. He's got to also be thinking about who he wants around him here going into these last pit stops as well.
Some interesting names in the top 10. Stenhouse is there. A.J. Allmendinger, Ambrose.
Yeah, Jimmy's all over. He's down low, and Danica's behind him, and then he moves up to the top, and she moves behind him, and she's learning from him, and that's good. But you saw it opened up that lane for the 20 car of Matt Kenseth, and then they slammed the door on that outside lane when they come to the top side. You see Jimmy come back to the bottom in front of McMurray here.
Disappointment for Juan Pablo Montoya tonight, Marty.
In the garage area, Adam, team working on the car. Boy, it appeared from the replay you just had nowhere to go. What was your view of it?
We all went to the bottom to create that second group because they were really checking up on the top, and for some reason they decided to try to blend when there's no room, and we're just for a change, somebody makes a mistake and we end up paying for the mistake, so kind of sucks. Everybody in this target team has been working really hard. We got a great car, and we had a really good speed in practice, qualified well, and we're just taking our time, and it sucks.
This too, a team championship aspirations, Adam. About 12 guys working on the car right now trying to get him back in.
Denny Hamlin also involved in the crash. Kyle Busch got damaged. So I asked this question: who's Matt Kenseth going to draft with down the stretch? He's running in the top 5 right now. Jimmy Johnson leading here at Daytona. Some drivers come to the front that we haven't seen there throughout the night. So let's go. Our Dodge ran no guts, no glory. Among those drivers up there now, Larry, is Kevin Harvick.
Well, we call him the closer. We call him Mr. Where Did He Come From? And I think he's working on both right now. Remember, Kevin qualified way back in the pack, like in the 26th position, and ran at the back of the pack, outside the top 30 most of this race. Adam, you talked about it at the top of the show. The Achilles heel in 2013 for Kevin Harvick, the 2 restrictor plate races, the only finishes outside the top 15, but I think with 47 laps to go, one more pit stop, Mr. Where Did He Come From said it's go time. I'm going to the front, sitting there in 6th.
They dodged some bullets early because they nearly lost the draft. Got the cautions when they needed them. And now with the money on the line, they find themselves running inside the top 10 with Kurt Busch and Tony Stewart, 2 other drivers we really haven't talked about tonight.
There's still plenty of bullets out there.
Yes.
Trust me.
His gun's still loaded. Just over 40 laps remaining, 46 to go. And while Harvick finds himself inside the top 10 with some of these other drivers that were playing it safe early, still not quite time to get overly aggressive. Tony Stewart in the mix. 19 victories all time. That's second only to Dale Earnhardt. Won the nationwide race here in February and has won this Coke Zero 400 4 times, including 1 year ago. Never a winner in the big one. The 500 in February, something he'd love to cross off his to-do list. Tony's 7th right now. He was 33rd when we went green a handful of laps ago.
We've seen him do this quite a few times. He always has a very good race car here. His record speaks for itself. So he knows what he's doing, obviously, but he decided that, okay, it's time for me to get up there, get up front, knowing now that you have to make a pit stop still. And they're surrounding themselves, too, with, with guys they're comfortable with.
Hey, guys, if you remember at the top of the show, I talked about the importance of aerodynamics. How about Kyle Busch, that 18 car? Remember, he was on pit road at lap 103. Look at the right front corner of that race car, and now he's sitting up there back in the top 10.
And running with him, Larry, Matt Kenseth. Perhaps they can hook up and get their way back to the front. Jimmy Johnson, the race leader. 116 laps complete at Daytona. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. And now we check out our nationwide caution count. Average final caution, last 8 races here at Daytona, lap 158 of a 160 lap race. Average final green flag stretch, only 3 laps, and yes, we've had 3 green-white checker finishes here in the last 5 races. Now we go through the field, presented by McDonald's. Marty Snyder, what's going on?
Adam Jimmy Johnson out front, trying to become the first driver in 31 years to win the Daytona 500 and the Coke Zero 400 in the same year. He can run any line he wants to, and a lot of teammates around him. Looking good for the 48 right now, Chris.
Well, Jimmy Max led 8 laps tonight, and he said that car a little tight early in the run, a little bit loose late in the run. A little while ago, he said he wanted to take a run at the 48. Kevin Mannion said, hey, let's just sit and ride for a while. Matt?
Brad Keselowski runs third, trying to add a Daytona win to his racing resume now. It's been incident-free of late, but midway through this race, Keselowski was having issues with his water pressure light was blinking. Also, the car was running hot. It has since cooled off. He's fine right now, just riding, Chris.
Well, Jeff Gordon was pretty quiet the first 100 laps of this race, but after that 100-lap mark, he's been charging to the front, running 4th. He has been saying over the radio he's not too happy with what Keselowski's doing, moving around a little bit too much out there. He said, I need him to settle down, hopefully trying to get up to the 48. Right behind him, Kurt Busch having a great run tonight. Said that car is working a lot better than everybody else around him. His only concern, temperature running a little high. Ralph?
Well, the number 13 of Casey Mears is a car we have not talked a lot about tonight, but he sits inside the top 10 in 9. He's got 2 top 10s here at Daytona. And, Adam, he has a second-place finish here in the 2006 Daytona 500.
Ralph, I just want to document one more time Kyle Busch in that 18 car. You're riding with him here as he rides behind Casey Mears. Remember, back on pit road at lap 103, restarted after that caution, 36. He's sitting there in the top 10 as he's battling his teammate Matt Kenseth in the 20 for that 10th spot.
122, soon to be 123 laps complete. We're taking our final break of the night. We go caution-free on TNT. Good to have you with us on a Saturday night. 34 laps to go at Daytona. NASCAR on TNT. commercial free from now for the checkered flag. Jimmie Johnson leads this race tonight. He's led twice any other driver. 61 laps out front for him. Kyle Busch, 29 circuits in the lead. But he may have company soon.
Smoke.
Big crash. Well, fourth caution of the night, Eric Almirola with damage. That's David Strimmy going down low through the grass. Seems to be the trouble spot over there, coming back to the tri-oval.
Yeah, not sure what happened there. They were getting a little racy up front as we saw the 20 car of Matt Kenseth had begun to gain on that outside line and brought it back and was up about 5th or 6th in that outside line. These guys were well back behind them. Not sure what really happened there.
A little damage for Greg Biffle on that left side.
Yeah, from the door, from the number forward there, you see the fender.
Yeah, that's a
broken
bad
right
spot
there. That's
too.
a bad spot, arrow-wise.
Yeah. Man, looks like Stremme was trying to get to the bottom, and Ambrose was there.
Yeah, and the wreck happened. There was 2 wrecks. As you see it, you saw Stremme and Ambrose up ahead, and then you saw the one car, and don't really recognize which one it is, but you see Stremme and Ambrose. They get together right here. These 2 cars, and you see the 51 car. I don't know if he gets hit from the behind.
I don't think he got hit.
Or if he just jumped on the brakes and the thing turned around on him, and he gets down into the 43 of Eric Almirola.
Little damage on the left front for Allmendinger there. Riding here with Greg Biffle.
Yeah, you see that bump right there. Which sends it through.
Easy, just back it down. Easy, still coming at you. Easy. Good save, good save. Keep coming. Caution out behind you, still outside. Nothing coming at you now. Back off. There you go. I think.
Let's see where the 16 got his damage from. You see the 16 back here. There he is. Oh, it's where they come up. 43
wow,
gets
43
right.
hit him hard.
Wow, and that car went up a little bit, and that's about it. And then he took a hard hit in the door.
Look what it did to that splitter for David Stremme. Just ripped it off the right front.
Yeah, I think he had more problems. I think he's got some issues in the rear end of that car, because he did hit the wall pretty hard. Watch out. See how hard that rear hit? He's got some issues back there.
You know, and it's almost like AJ in that 51 car, when he saw everything happen in front of him, got on the brakes, and the thing, it's like he's got too much rear brake. The thing almost just turned out from under him. You see him right here.
Well, I think he also was trying to turn to avoid the 16 car.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fourth caution of the evening. AJ Allmendinger, who had spent a great deal of time inside the top 10, repairing the damage. And now pit stops. Coming with 31 laps to go. Jimmie Johnson going to be the first to hit the pit lane. Let's go to Marty Snyder.
Adam, with that very first pit stall on pit road, you'll see him come to a stop. The car, he said, less tight than it's been all night long, but I need to be a little bit freer still. It's going to be fuel only for Jimmie Johnson, Chris.
Jamie Mack thinks he has a car to beat the 48. They're going to take 2 tires on the 48 and the 1 in fuel. Matt.
Only needing 4 to 5 seconds of fuel. Brad Keselowski, there he goes. He's out of the box. No tires, Ralph.
They call for fuel only and a slight chassis adjustment to the 18 of Kyle Busch. Fuel only.
Thanks, Ralph. Jeff Gordon exiting the pit lane, went all the way out in to the grass. Not sure if there was any damage. And you see Michael Waltrip facing the wrong direction. He got turned around coming on to the pit lane. As they get Michael Waltrip all fixed up, we look one more time at the situation for Jeff Gordon on exit.
Yeah, he had a pretty good run, and he's going to probably have to come back in, because if there's any dirt or debris on that screen in the front, it's going to heat the car up. So those things are like a shovel when you get out there in the grass. And I'm sure there's a lot of debris on the front of that, blocking the radiator. So it's going to be interesting to see if they come in. You can also already see he's trying to get real close to the 99 to blow it off, but doesn't look too bad.
It really doesn't look bad, as deep as it looked like that splitter dug in the ground.
Yeah, and the splitter looks healthy.
Let's get that one small place over on the right side. Looked a little bit like Junior's car looked last week.
It did.
When he got hit by a tire.
Here you see Gordon pulling up behind Carl Edwards, trying to get rid of any of the debris there.
Yep.
And with 30 laps to go,
yeah, he doesn't want to come back down right now.
Yeah, you don't up on the grill. I mean, it will get warm in a hurry. But as you guys said, you don't want to give up the track position.
It looks pretty decent.
All right, fans, get those phones out and get ready to tweet. It's time for the Sprint 60 Unlimited. Here's Miss Sprint Cup.
Race fans, it's time for the start of the quickest NASCAR race ever, the Sprint 60 Unlimited. You have 60 seconds to tweet your driver's number with the hashtag Sprint60 as many times as you can. Ready, set, tweet. All right, the tweets are coming in and the race is on. Remember, you don't have to be a Sprint customer, and you can tweet in support of any NASCAR Sprint Cup Series driver in today's race. The driver with the most tweets wins $10,000 from Sprint for their charity of choice. Keep tweeting. There's no limit to how many tweets you can send. But if you've got unlimited data from Sprint, I'm sure you're used to it. My favorite thing about having unlimited data from Sprint is I can watch all the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series coverage I want without worrying about overages. And my favorite thing about the Sprint 60 Unlimited trophy is it fits my carry-on. Now let's get back to the race. We're more than halfway through and the lead is still up for grabs, so keep those tweets coming. And remember to follow me on Twitter @MissSprintCup for the trophy presentation. It's coming down to the wire, so get those last few tweets in. And we have a winner. Congratulations to the first ever Sprint 60 Unlimited champion. On behalf of all the drivers, thank you for your support. If you enjoyed 60 seconds of unlimited tweeting, you'll love unlimited data from Sprint. Visit sprint.com/speed today.
There's a shocker. The 88 one.
A few drivers yet to make pit stops. Jeff Burton, David Reagan, Josh Wise. They will come to the pit lane here. See Joey Logano back on track after getting damaged when bringing out a caution earlier. So that would put Jimmy Johnson back into the race lead as those drivers come down pit road. 29 laps to go. Johnson has had the dominant car tonight. Brad Keselowski is second. Kyle Busch, damage and all, in the third position. Got Kevin Harvick up there, Kurt Busch, Casey Kane, Jamie McMurray, Tony Stewart, and Marcos Ambrose. This is our fourth caution of the night. Overall, though, for a race at Daytona, it's been fairly clean, but right now we're getting to the time where everybody's taking their patience pants off.
Yeah, well, we saw this in the 500. You know, these guys run and they just kind of bided their time, and then we got down to those last 30, 40, 50 miles of the race, and then the racing begun. And I think that's kind of the way it's going to be here. You know, we're down within that. We're down within these last few laps where now these guys know what they've got. They've made their adjustments. They know what they've got tire-wise. They know what they have fuel-wise. And now we're going to see guys put themselves in position to make that challenge in the last 5 or 10 laps of the race.
Hey guys, a few drivers I'm going to watch closely at the drop of this green flag with 28 laps to go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88, Matt Kenseth in the 20, Ryan Newman in the 39. They elected to go with 4 tires, and they're starting outside the top 15. But guys, you've heard me say it. This is one of those classic cases. You better reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
Getting down to it, Larry, without question. It'll be 28 laps remaining when we get the green flag. Jimmy Johnson, Brad Keselowski sharing the front row on the restart. Kyle Busch starting to make a move down to the inside of Brad Keselowski.
And he's got the whole right front torn off that car. Those guys did a great job of getting it put back together. But he is just putting that car and sticking it in places where you don't think aero-wise it's going to be able to go.
That's Harvick and Kane side by side for second. You got to believe Jimmy Johnson would love to hook up with his teammate here.
I don't think Jimmy Johnson's going to need to hook up with anybody the way that car's been looking so far.
Jimmy moves to the top.
Back in the pack.
You saw Jimmy see him get a little bit of a run there. He come off the bottom and goes up to the top of the racetrack to kind of get the momentum from those guys, so they'll push him out farther ahead.
There's a lot more shoving going on right now.
This a look from the bumper of Kevin Harvick. Tony Stewart outside of him. Kyle Busch right behind. Brad Keselowski trying to gain some ground. And there's Danica Patrick in the outside lane.
We're back to 3 wide, and it may stay this way for a while.
Yeah.
This has been a theme, though, on the restarts.
It has been a theme on the restarts, but as we said, you're down to 28, 29 laps to go. You've got to get your car and get it up there and establish your ground and establish your position and not let anybody take it away from you, so that you do have that opportunity to make a move on those last 3 or 4 laps. Because we talked about it earlier. Do you want to be leading? I think if you're Jimmy Johnson and as fast as he's been tonight and as fast as he's led these things, I think you do want to be leading. But some of these guys are formulating their plans on where I want to be and who do I want to be behind.
But you don't want to be in the middle either. I mean, because this is the time of the race when you get down when the wrecks start happening. So this is the time to be up front to try to stay in front of the wreck.
And how amazing is Tony Stewart? Seems every July we come to Daytona, that 14 car is at the front when he needs to be. He's towing that outside lane around right now.
You know, here's the 14 Tony on the outside, the 29. We saw Kevin Harvick run as far back as 41st or 42nd in this race. Right up in the middle of it when it comes time for the paycheck.
Kyle Busch, damage that we've talked about, involved in an accident earlier. Crew did a great job of repairing the right front of that race car, and now he's working with his brother Kurt in the draft. This can be a huge night for that 78 team that still has their eye on a spot in the chase.
Looks like Junior hung on the outside there, going towards drifting back. I don't know if something's happened to him. He was up there in the middle of it, up in there in the mix, but has lost a number of positions there.
Jamie McMurray continues to ride inside the top 5.
Yeah, Stewart needs to get out of that spot right there. Unless everybody lines up and follows him, Keselowski's going to go to the back.
And now they hang out Brad Keselowski, the defending series champ who's had a good night.
Whoa, hang on, AJ.
Wow.
He just hit you there. Hang on to it, bud. Good job.
Man, he jumped out of the pack all the way to the bottom and saved that thing. Look at him right here, 4 wide. Wow.
Wow, yeah, this doesn't usually work.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long it's going to work. That's Brad Keselowski in the high groove. He had Kenseth, Kyle Busch below him.
That was impressive right there. That was impressive by everybody in that group.
It just doesn't seem like the guys on the outside or the opposite of wherever the 48 is running, they can get a line of cars strong enough to really make a run at the lead. Now you've got a whole group of different cars here. You got Tony Stewart, you got McMurray, who's been strong, the 18 and the 24. So let's see if maybe they can make some ground.
Tell you, Marcos Ambrose has done a nice job hanging at the front all night long. I mentioned earlier that Montoya was running good, and if he could get a win at a place like this, perhaps be thinking chase, because Watkins Glen is still on the schedule for these road course guys. Ambrose in that same category. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in that lead draft. Rookie of the Year contender, trying to get his first top 10 finish of the season.
See Casey Kane, you see or Casey Mears right there behind Danica. Those two cars, he and Danica both, have done a good job. They got hung on the outside. They worked their way to the middle and then worked their way to the bottom where they seem to be in the fast line and a better place than where they were. When they were hung on the outside, they were going to the back. As they shifted their lines and moved to a different place, that seems to be the stronger line. But as I say that, the outside line is charged back on.
Well, that's because
around,
the
48
goes
to the outside.
Yeah, and it's got to be frustrating for the 5-car, Casey Kane, when you see your teammate doing that up front. You know, instead of dropping down in front of you, which is normally what you would do with your teammate, he went up there and took 3 or 4 cars with him and stuck Casey Kane back in 4th spot.
And basically when he does that, he confuses the pack because it mixes up the pack again. Just as the pack's getting ready to organize and you're getting ready to have a 2x2 breakaway, Jimmy changes lanes and mixes up everything.
Harvick second, Stewart third. They're going to be teammates next year.
Yeah, you know
working
where
good together tonight.
Yeah, you know those two guys are going to gang up on the 48 if they possibly can.
I'm sure Jimmy Johnson prepared to get wide as we go down the stretch, Marty.
Is there a lane he cannot run at him? He's going wherever he wants to go, and it's funny because Earl Barber and his spotter told him a moment ago, try that top line, it looks faster. Then he goes to the bottom, and all of a sudden those guys get faster, just what you were talking about, Wally. And it seemed to me when I talked to Jimmy earlier this week, he was a little focused on all the points they've given up this year. Charlotte, Dover, Michigan, and certainly last week at Kentucky. I don't think Jimmy Johnson, Adam, plans on giving up any points tonight, does he?
Danica Patrick hanging tight inside the top 12. Right now she's in the 11th position. Jimmy Johnson leading this race. 19 laps to go here at Daytona. Jimmy Johnson has led 74 laps tonight. And he is clinched leading the most laps in this race. He dominated last week at Kentucky, but did not get the payoff at the end.
I don't know, Pat. As strong as the 48 is, if you've got guys like Harvick and Stewart and some of those guys, wouldn't you want to try to get rid of them now?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, if you know the 48's the car you got to beat.
Yes,
I'm surprised some of these guys aren't trying to make a move on him, or maybe they just can't.
Yeah.
But, you know, bury him in the field if you can, because he's going to be the guy you got to beat.
Yeah, you know, I think saving it to the last lap for these guys, it would appear not to be the best strategy because we haven't been really able to see anybody make a move on the 48. And we've really not seen a lot of guys make a move on the leader, whether it was the 18 car when he led or the 20 car when he led. But nobody's even offered to make a move on this 48 yet.
Matt?
Adam, when Kevin Harvick won Talladega a couple of years ago, he told me that was the first restrictor plate race where his game plan going in worked to perfection. Every stage he was able to be in the exact position that he wanted to be. So far tonight, he wanted to drop to the back. He worked his way to the front. If the situation presented itself when he wanted to move forward again, it did. The only hiccup tonight, he had a tear off from someone's windshield across his grill. Temperatures were climbing. Fortunate for him, the caution came out. Right now, just sitting there riding and waiting to make his move.
He's got 16 laps to think about it, Matt. And you see the progress he's made tonight. As deep as 41st in the running order. In jeopardy of going a lap down a couple of times, but boy, is he strong when the money's on the line.
But listen to that. You can hear the engine while he's running. He's running. Pedal to the floor, wide open. How do you make a move when that's all you've got? You know what I mean? And somebody, you've got to count on somebody to help you make that move.
Well, you know, I would be talking to Stewart's, my spotter. Go talk to Stewart's spotter, see if we can do anything with him. Like you said,
yes.
If you're gonna wait till the last lap, it's going to be you don't know what you have, and you may not have enough, so you need to come up with another plan. I'm just surprised they're waiting this long to try something.
Yeah. And these guys back here have separated.
They're trying everything.
Yes.
Well, guys, when you look at Jimmy Johnson, our leader in that 48 car, and we saw it the whole time we followed him from Kevin Harvick's car, he is not going to move off that double yellow line. You can see it even here through the trial oval. He is hugging that line. But what I watched a while ago, and you guys just well documented it, Jamie McMurray was trying his best to get that outside line assembled. In fact, I watched Kyle Busch in the 18 actually pushing him down the straightaways and then getting off of the corner. But I think what happened, so many other drivers got mixed into that pack. As you see them starting to assemble again, somebody's going to have to make a move here pretty quick, though.
Yeah, I agree, Larry.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they should be looking at it now. I mean, we see this every year. Everybody waits until the end, and then something happens, and they're not in the position they want to be because the yellow comes out at the white flag or whatever. You know, they should be testing the waters now.
You could make a move now and stumble and still maybe recover and get something from it. If you wait much longer, you're not going to be able to get something in.
Yeah, you're only going to get one shot
because
at it.
as you said, this pack has been blown apart, and now they've reassembled, and we see them coming back together again. You know, right here at the back of this pack is that's you know, Dale Jr. has run back down. We mentioned earlier how Jr. got caught on the outside and something happened. He'd gone back to the back. He's worked his way back up here, and right there he is behind Casey Mears, right behind Danica.
Want to join us live at Daytona next year? Head to mcr.com/Coke0400 for the chance to win a trip for two to the 2014 Coke Zero 400 and a new 2014 Chevy Camaro 2SL. "12 laps remaining. Denny Hamlin got the free pass under that last caution, and here he is in the top 15 and very much a part of the equation."
That's pretty amazing, because wasn't too long ago I was looking down at Denny Hamlin 1 lap down.
Haven't talked a lot about Clint Boyer tonight, but as we close on 10 to go, he finds himself in position to strike. Marty?
Well, that's because he's been in the back of the pack on purpose, Adam. Crash on the track, Adam.
Just talking about Denny airborne. A.J. Allmendinger, Jeff Gordon, David Rudiman, Matt Kenseth all involved.
The 11 car's in there too. You know, we're just talking about how he had just come back, and they just keep beating this guy down, man.
That was 2 big hits, really. I mean, that second hit, when you get run into like that, that is hard.
And he took a hard hit last week.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth.
Kenseth led the most laps here in February.
Window net's down, which is a good sign.
Ooh, 24 in it.
Yeah.
Wow. Gordon had been running great.
All these guys were right there in that second pack that had just been separated, and Junior was about the cutoff. You see AJ down on the ground here. Obviously, he's took a little bit of a hard hit, knocked the breath out of him. But they were just behind that pack where Junior and those guys had separated, because that's where Denny was. He had just driven up to the back bumper of Junior right along there.
Sometimes our TV just doesn't do the justice of how hard these cars are hitting the wall. You know, we've talked about how great the improvements on the walls and things have been, but guys are still going 200 miles per hour when they're, knocking the walls down.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a soft wall, even though that's what we call them, and that's what we talk about them as. They soften the blow, but there is no such thing as a soft wall. You see Denny down on the inside right there. That thing just turns right.
Yeah.
It's like
that was
something
strange.
That was really strange.
Wow. Kenseth did a great job not running into the door of the 11, but then the 51, just nowhere to go.
But for Hamlin, he goes nose first into the wall. Very similar to how he hit the wall in California when he suffered that compression fracture.
Yeah, but,
but a different angle.
But watch this right here. Here he is. The two cars, they're spacing behind him. The two cars behind him. He goes there. Wow. I don't know if the two car got into the back of him and sent him to the inside and he overcorrected.
You know, it almost looked like Kyle, the car in front of him slowed down.
Good point.
And he turned to the left, and that's when it spun him around.
But then, and then obviously everybody's trying to avoid him.
Yeah. Yeah, watch Boyer. You get the 11. It looks like these guys get, you know, he just dove down.
Wow.
And then corrected maybe. Yeah, that's really a strange act. Man, Matt did a good job not hitting that car, but then he got clobbered.
See Blaney in that. And Blaney had a good run. Those guys had run in the top 10 or 15 a lot tonight in that 7 car.
Yeah.
You see,
he drives down like almost like they're slowing down in front of him, but he just.
When he got over there, yeah, but you see I mean, he didn't have the tires really cut one way or the other. You know what I mean? It's not like he's got a lot of left turn in it or a lot of right turn in it when you look at that left front tire.
You know, one thing, Kyle, possibly, you know, when he drove down underneath that yellow line, he tried getting back up above the yellow line because he didn't want to be on the apron and you know, going through the tri-oval with the banking being different. I'm sure we'll talk to him and hear what happened.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear what happened and what he has to say.
Yeah, the 51 just.
Wow.
No place to go. Neither did Blaney.
Sparks flying everywhere.
Yeah, they were Denny was very fortunate right there to be backing in at the right angle. AJ hitting him the way he hit him, and you watch AJ hit the 11 car and pick it up in the back. If that'd been in the door, that's pretty horrific.
This hit or that hit.
Yeah.
I mean, watch the 20 car here.
This is hard right here. It's a lot harder than it looks. And you see Denny's car. If we just stay watching Denny's car gets up next to the wall, and then it opens up to the driver's door.
That's the scariest, most vulnerable part right there.
And there's AJ, you know, and there's no place for those guys to go when you see the 11 car get up in the air.
Denny Hamlin, who had battled back from a lap down, was running 11th.
Back it down, in the wall ahead of you. Stay right in the middle, hustle, you're clear. Clear, keep digging, 83 inside. One more inside, clear low, dig on through that.
That's a great job right there by Spotter and Biffle.
And Bain as well. Trevor Bain able to avoid the accident completely.
You watch these cars right in the center. A bunch of those guys did a good job.
So our 5th caution of the night has now led to a red flag. 2nd consecutive week the Sprint Cup Series has gone under red. Last week at Kentucky, Brad Keselowski and Greg Biffle among those involved in a hard hit. And tonight you see the drivers involved in this one. If you're just joining us late on this Saturday night, Jimmie Johnson is the race leader. He's led 82 laps. Kevin Harvick, Tony Stewart, who were hanging in the back most of the early portion of this race, have rallied to the front. They are 2nd and 3rd. Casey Kane qualified up front, spent a lot of time there. He is now 4th, and Kurt Busch, looking for his first win of the year, is 5th. Ambrose, Danica Patrick, Casey Mears, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Clint Bowyer, the top 10. Good to have a little mental reset with 10 laps to go.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you'd rather not see a red flag.
Yeah.
I never just wanted to sit and think about it. You know, a red flag.
Yeah.
You know, you get in a mode and all of a sudden you've got to turn it off for a little bit.
Yeah.
And
they were in a rhythm.
Yeah.
I mean, Jimmy was in a rhythm on what he was doing. You go back and you look at Harvick and you look at Stewart and you look at Kane. They were formulating where they wanted to be, what they wanted to do, what they wanted to happen. So I think when you look at it, this kind of stops that planning, and now you've got to regroup. We're back to what what was said earlier, what Tony said earlier. Now you have to call an audible. And these guys, now they've got to regroup.
Sir?
Well, it looks like you've got a pretty strong car. That 48 has looked like it's been the strongest car. When do you think you'll give it a try and see if you guys got something for them? I know you and Stewart work real well. You guys have been hanging out in the back, and now you've got yourself in a good spot. What do you think you're going to need here?
First thing we have to do is, get a good restart, and then I think you try to take the first available opportunity. But it's all going to come down to the restart and how everything shuffles out to see where our Budweiser Chevy, the strategy that we take from there. So we'll see how that lines out and make a game plan from there.
Compared to the Daytona 500, these cars look like they're a lot better to drive and a lot better to race. Would you say that? I mean, it looks like you guys are, being able to run 2 abreast, even 3 wide sometimes, where it looked like the Daytona 500, they're much more of a handful.
I think everybody's had some time to get a better game plan and really work on the handling of the cars. And, I think obviously everybody's a little more tentative at the beginning of the year. And for us, we didn't make it very far in the first 2 races of the Speedway races this year. So hopefully we can finish this one off, but my car's driving good. Hopefully it stays that way.
Thanks for talking, Kevin. Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Mentioned a couple of times earlier tonight, Kevin Harvick. The downfall Achilles heel of this team in 2013 has been the restrictor plate races. He's in position to capitalize here this evening, trying to get his 3rd win of the year. Larry?
Well, what I see here is we have roughly 30 drivers that are on the lead lap that does not have damage. And every one of them, I think, truly believes I can get up there and win that race. I guess the moral of my story, I think the winner of the race is going to come from somebody in that pack of cars right there, because that's all the drivers pretty much on the lead lap, and every one of them believes, give me a shot, I can win this thing.
Well, they're going to have to get by Jimmy Johnson if they're going to be able to do it without question, because he's been so good here tonight.
Did Larry just circle the whole field?
I think he did.
I think he did.
Let's hear from Chad Knaus, the man calling the shots for the 5-time champion. Chris?
Yeah, it's really been the strongest car all night. They're trying to be the first car driver to win in over 30 years. The 500 and also the July race. You guys have had a car that works on the top and the bottom. Are you worried about any of these cars behind you?
Yeah, every single one of them, to be honest with you. But we're real fortunate. We've had a great race car all weekend long, and really happy. We qualified much better than what we thought we were. We really worked on the race setup, and it's definitely paying dividends for us tonight. There's going to be 8-9 laps to go at the end of this thing, and who knows what's going to happen. But Jimmy's done a really good job managing the draft, and hopefully we can get this low Chevrolet in victory lane tonight.
Yeah, we got a quick little shootout here. What has been the talk about restarts this past week?
We obviously, it's a big focus of ours right now. We're trying to dissect and understand what's been going on. We've had a couple of problems on some restarts, but I know that we've got one of the best race car drivers and definitely the best team out there. So all we got to do is get to work and put our minds to it, and we'll conquer it.
Good luck closing it out. Ralph?
All right, Chris, with 10 laps to go, he sits in 9th. That's his driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Steve Letarte. All right, what are you thinking? What's your battle strategy?
My strategy is basically done. You're going to stay out from here. Fuel's good, tires are good. We got the freshest tires of all the leaders. I don't really know if that's going to help much, but Dale's done a good job. He's taking care of the car all night. It's had good speed at times. We've been shuffled out a few times and had to restart from the back, so you never know how these things are going to finish. Hopefully you pick the right lane and get the right help and come out the other end.
Do you leave it all up to him? Are you giving him any advice? If you guys like the high line, the bottom line, where are you most comfortable?
Well, I'd give him advice if I saw something or some sort of direction, but earlier in the race, the top rolled, there at the end, the bottom rolled. He's won more of these than about anybody, so this is why the drivers drive. We're going to sit back and watch just like a fan, and hopefully these last 10 laps go our way.
Pressure's in the cockpit, Matt.
Tony Stewart chasing history tonight here in the Midsummer Classic. And Steve Addington, could this line up any better for you when we go back to green your man, row 2 inside?
Only way, if we were leading it, maybe that would be the only best scenario other than what we got right here. So I got the best in the business right there at these places. Sitting in that seat, I think you get after it and try to win this thing.
As he said, which lane his car has seemed to work the best tonight, or has it been pretty much a wash?
It's been pretty much a wash. It just at the beginning of the race, you're just kind of feeling it out, and he was taking care of the car, and right now it looked like the bottom was the place to be there for that last run. So it felt like the car's good, and we'll see what we got.
Not only a special race to smoke, but also sponsor Bass Pro Shop. Johnny Morris, the owner, he always picks this race to come because this man usually does well.
Yeah, Tony Stewart, nothing short of automatic when it comes to this race. The red flag has been lifted. We're back under caution. Denny Hamlin, A.J. Allmendinger, both have been released from the care center. That is good news. Both were ailing when they climbed from the race cars, without a doubt. 10 laps to go. So let's look back at what's happened in the first 150 of tonight's Coke Zero 400. Lap 98, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Juan Pablo Montoya, Kyle Busch, all involved in a crash coming down toward the start-finish line. Then at lap 128, had another issue. David Stremme into the wall. A number of drivers, no place to go, received damage. See Allmendinger spinning out. Eric Almirola got a piece of the action. Greg Biffle and Ambrose. And then at lap 149, Denny Hamlin out of line, nose first into the outside wall. Kenseth goes to miss him. Hamlin got airborne. Allmendinger, Blaney got damage, and all 14 cars have been involved in the accidents here today. Well, the history says there will be cautions late in this race. And now that we are back under the yellow, we're going to be just north of 5 laps to go in this year's event. And Chris talked to Chad Knaus about restarts, and that's something everybody going to be thinking about when we go back green. Go back to Dover. This is where it all started, really, for him, Kyle.
Yeah, and I think he just rolled on the 42 perfectly. It couldn't have been a worse situation for Jimmy. He hit it perfect, and the 42 didn't go, and that made it look worse than it was. Here at Michigan, he took off, and then he had to give it back, which is what NASCAR had said. Then last week, we got into a thing at Kentucky, and Jimmy just had bad restarts all day long. And I think when they got back, it was reported this week that they had some transmission issues on all the Hendrick cars, and they just could not get their restart stuff going. But it really appears to be, has been an Achilles heel for them this year. Out of all the races, 3 or 4 times they've got beaten late on restarts, and has totally changed the outcome of their day.
So you're looking at just looking at where Johnson's going to go here. I'd almost want to split up Harvick and Stewart if I were him. Well, you got Casey Kane sitting in 4th spot.
Yeah.
And it looks like Harvick on the inside of Johnson here. So Johnson going to choose that outside lane to do exactly what you just said, Wally, and that's hook up with his teammate Casey Kane. But on the other side, it gives Harvick and Stewart the opportunity to work together as well.
But that's the right move to make. I mean, instead, rather than split those guys up, it's good to have a friend in the mirror right now.
And I don't think Jimmy's going to have any issues on these restarts here. I think in the past there's been some questions, and Jimmy's had some questions, and everybody has. But, I mean, so far down here, he's been spot on all day long.
Aerial coverage tonight provided by Goodyear, proudly supporting our military for 100 years. Show your support for our troops at Goodyear.com. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Going to be 7 laps to go in regulation when the green flag goes back in the air. Jimmy Johnson won the Daytona 500 in February. A win tonight would put him in elite company. Only 4 drivers all time have won the Great American Race and come back here and won the July event. Last time it happened, Bobby Allison won the 500 and the 400 in 1982. It's tough to sweep at the World Center of Racing. Disappointment for Jeff Gordon. He goes to the garage. Entered 12th in the championship. Now he finds himself 14th.
Look at somebody's got. Who's that's got his hood up on the inside?
Is that
there.
Rudeman? Looks like David Rudeman maybe coming to pit lane. Green flag back in the air. Jimmy Johnson, good restart in the outside lane.
He made sure that one was going to work. And it did.
He brings Kane with him.
For now.
Stewart tucked right up behind Harvick and now loses some ground as Ambrose works to the outside.
See, that's certainly not what Harvick and Stewart wanted to see, was both those guys get hooked up and then get to the bottom of the racetrack.
Yes. And we've not talked a lot about Ambrose tonight, but he has been right there in the top 6 or 7 for the last 30 or 40 laps. And you see that outside lane. Now's the time when we're going to see them start to lean on each other, or start to bump each other a little bit maybe, because it's time to go.
Ambrose looking for his first win on an oval in Sprint Cup competition. 6 laps remaining.
I really think if the 29 and the 14 can get clear, they're going to want to get to the high line, because if not, they're trapped down there. There's not a whole lot they're going to be able to do between now and the end of the race.
With them just running door to door with Ambrose and the guys and Clint Boyer right beside of him, you know, there's nothing. There's nowhere. They're boxed in. You've got the yellow line to the inside, the out of bounds. And here goes Jimmy to the outside.
I cannot believe
that opens
Harvick
up that inside.
Yeah, I can't believe he did that. And just left his teammate like that. Well, you must think you've got a strong car if you can do that.
And here's his teammate to the front.
Casey Kane making that inside groove work. Ambrose trying to push Johnson back out front.
Wow.
See,
who would have?
I certainly don't understand that move. But
yeah.
this is where you try to get rid of Jimmy Johnson as far as.
And there goes Kane out of line, spinning down to the inside of the back straightaway. Hard hit on the inside wall.
Yeah. But I was going to say, this is where you try to get Jimmy Johnson in the middle of the pack, get him away from the front. Looks like Ambrose got a little bit of that.
Smoke on the right front for the 9 car.
29, 48, 9, 29, 15, 14, 1. Tune up to takeoff record.
Well, that was a hard hit to the inside wall there.
Casey has not had much luck on these.
He's never won one. More than 30 starts.
But he's been dumped a couple times this year too, I believe.
Absolutely. All 3 events now this season.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, I think this caution to the expense of his teammate was a gift to Jimmy Johnson. I'm like you guys. Whatever he did there, it was not the right move. But you heard David Hoots, the race director, calling the lineup out.
Yes.
And what that is, that's where the drivers were when they crossed the last scoring loop at the point of caution. That lineup is critical on this restart.
So Jimmy Johnson will be the race leader. Saw Ambrose on pit road cleaning up the damage that he received when Casey Kane went for that slide down the back straightaway. Kane able to walk from his car, get in the ambulance. He will make the mandatory ride to the infield care center. Here they are off of turn 2.
Wow. Yeah, he just got body slammed to the inside. I don't know what exactly happened to Ambrose, but Ambrose just changed lanes suddenly and just body slammed him. And I don't know if Ambrose run up on the 48.
I think he was going to the middle.
And he seems to be headed there, and he sees the 48 come over and tries
to. Or,
the 48
got tapped.
Yeah, the 48 kind of forces him over and forces him right into the side of Casey and just body slams him. And this is, you see the wall kind of absorb some of that energy in the front of this.
And still look at the car.
Yeah, front of this Gen 6 take it, and that's
I think we both hit
plus.
back there when it wasn't there, and that's a tough.
Yeah, but that's a tribute to this Gen 6 car too.
Anxious moment for Kevin Harvick.
But this is just typical. You're getting down to the last few laps, and you've got to take anything you can get right now.
You know, I think we heard some things from Junior earlier. People say Junior has to be more aggressive, or Junior was going to be more. That's just being aggressive late in the race right there.
Yep.
Let's go to Chris.
Well, Jeff Gordon's brought the 24 to the garage, obviously. Not going to be able to get this car back out on track. Boy, you just got kind of caught up in there with everything with the 11 and the 20.
Yeah, you know, we lost some track position there. Had a really strong car, really good handling Exalta Chevrolet tonight, so I was happy about that. Great to have Finish Master in the 50 years that Exalta's been with them on board tonight, too. You know, we're just sitting there kind of riding along, hoping that outside lane, I can't say we're riding, it was pretty aggressive, but just nowhere to go, and just riding that outside lane, hoping that it'd start to make progress. And I don't know, I just saw somebody spin in front of me, and we all tried to avoid, I guess it was 11, and we all tried to avoid him, and Matt got sideways, and, you know, then I didn't have anywhere to go either, and got the right front, and that just fed the car into the wall. So it's unfortunate. You know, I still think we had a great shot at getting the car to the front. We had a very strong race car, and you got to survive before you can ever get there. You got to finish, too.
Yeah, and a second ago, Jeff saw that replay of Casey Kane getting in the wall, and he really clinched his jaw, saying, man, that really hurts.
So Jeff Gordon walks away from the garage. He's fine, but it doesn't soften the blow when you look at the championship. And speaking of blows, here's his teammate. The reason why we're under our 6th caution of the night.
It's a bad angle. You're going fast. Nothing good about that other than what we talk about, the softballs, which really helps. It doesn't get any better. No angle you show. It doesn't get much better. So this would put us in a green-white checkered, I presume.
It will, yep. Going to overtime tonight here in Daytona. Lights are out on the caution car.
Okay, so if you thought it was aggressive a few laps ago, you haven't seen anything yet.
This is all take and no give. All take and no give.
Up to 3 attempts when it comes to a green-white checker.
You got to be leading at the white.
You get the green flag lap, come around and take the white. If the caution comes out before the leader takes the white, we re-rack it and do it again. Again, you get 3 attempts. If the leader gets to the white flag, the next flag ends it, whether it be the caution or the checker. Been a long day here in Daytona Beach, Florida for these drivers. It's going to be a little longer.
So what do you think, Kyle? You think 14 jumps on the high side as quick as he can? I mean, you have to, don't you?
You have to.
You can't
have to do
follow
something.
him.
No, you can't follow.
You know, you got to say, hey, Kurt, I'm going up high. Go with me, you know, in the 78 car because, I mean, Jimmy Johnson's just needs the class of the field right now. And that car is so strong, you're going to have to do it in a hurry.
Yeah, and you know, if you're back past 6th or 7th, this is not Talladega where you've got time to make something happen on a green-white checkered. It doesn't seem to be, or never has been historically. Let me.
Oh, they'll get 5 wide on the back stretch.
Yeah, you got to make something happen in this first little bit here.
Front 3 rows, you got 3 drivers looking for their first win of the year: McMurray, Boyer, and Kurt Busch.
And there they are, 4 wide behind them. And because you've got to make something happen right here. Wow.
Starting to make it happen there, shuffling down the back straightaway. Jimmy Johnson once again able to gain the top spot.
Strong.
Man, that is strong.
That's a power move by that 48.
And nobody can do anything. You know, it's easy to say, well, you got to do this and jump on the outside of them. You can't get to it.
No, that was a power move. He just powered away from the pack as they come down through there.
You got to get wide. White flag is out. Next flag will decide it.
Wow.
Tony Stewart feeling good, and how about Kurt Busch in that outside lane with help from David Gilmour?
Oh, here we go.
We got trouble.
Then it's
there
over.
we go. That's it.
Like I said, you lead at the white.
That's it.
You're good to go. But they may race to the finish.
They're going to let them race back here. That happened over in turn 2, so they got plenty of room.
All right, let them race, boys.
Hopefully they're cleared when they get back down there.
Tony Stewart won this race last year. He's won it 4
29,
times.
shoving the 14. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but
through turns 3 and 4 for the final time. Off the corner, here comes Jimmy Johnson. He's dominated the race. Now he can see the finish line. That's Busch in the outside lane, not making a move.
Oh,
trouble behind him.
Danica.
Danica and others. Jimmy Johnson gets the win at Daytona.
Yeah, she got turned right there.
That was a dominating performance by the 48
yes,
team tonight.
Was.
Led 93 laps.
Thank you. Awesome.
That's another race. The last 3 or 4 races, and I know people get tired of hearing us talk about him, but the last 3 or 4 races, he's dominated these races. Yeah. He's not just won them. He has, and he's lost some of them, just like last week at Kentucky, but he dominated that race.
You think about Pocono, where he did win, Dover, where he didn't get the victory, black flagged late. Certainly last week, as you mentioned, at Kentucky, and here tonight, leading 93 of 161 laps. You saw the machine of Kyle Busch parked on track, and there he goes, the long walk back toward the garage. How many times have we seen this storyline play out? A huge crash coming to the checkered flag. Had 2 of them on the final lap.
Carl went across to get scored. He is back in 26th spot.
Another bad week for him.
Yeah.
You know, he's not happy about that.
And this will shake up the points. You know, we talked about it.
Yes.
You know, we're looking at some guys +5, +6. Kurt Busch is up to 9th, 14th, up to 10th.
Let's go back to that final lap. Jimmy Johnson leading, and look behind him. This the first wreck after the white flag.
Yeah. Carl just gets, just as we saw the 5 car of Kane get slammed and sent to the inside, Carl got slammed going the other way and got slammed into the outside wall. No caution after this. You see Carl right there.
Yeah, it looks
as
like
the 13 car moves up on him and sends him around.
Yeah.
Scott Speed, Bobby Labonte out there. Joe Nemechek nowhere to go. Like David Reagan, barely able to sneak by. And because all of this happened well behind the leaders, and it was over in turn 2, NASCAR said let them race back to the line, give them a finish.
Yeah, that was good. I'm glad they did that. Great for the fans. And the track was clean. And obviously they were going to, next time they came back through this corner, they were going to be under caution.
Yeah, slow down. So Jimmy Johnson matches Matt Kenseth. Each driver has now won 4 times this season. And Jimmy, the first to sweep the 500 and the 400 at Daytona since 1982, when Bobby Allison was able to get both trophies. Let's hear from his teammate. Disappointing end of the night for Casey Kane, Chris.
Yeah, Casey Kane just released from the infield care center. And Casey, that was a big hit coming off turn 2, getting into that inside wall.
Yeah, we were, you know, Jimmy moved up to block the outside row coming, and so I had kind of at that point I had the lead. I'd followed Jimmy a lot throughout the race and felt really good with our InterCars.com Chevrolet. Next thing I know, I got slammed and shot left. So it was the end of our night. I mean, it's kind of how these races go. You don't have a lot of control over some of the things that happen here, and luckily, I'm happy our car was fast and we put a good showing out. We ran up front the whole race.
Good to see you're okay.
Casey Kane entered number 1 in the wild card chase. He's now number 2 in that position, 12th overall in the championship. Martin Truex Jr. with a win at Sonoma, 11 in the title chase, number 1 when it comes to the wild card. So we've looked at wreck 1 on the final lap. Now here they are coming off of turn 4.
Yeah, you see Kurt Busch go to the high side. He's got Earnhardt, Patrick, and Danica gets just tangled up with the 38 car.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, like I said, once that starts happening.
Ryan Newman nowhere to go. You see the damage for Jeff Burton. J.J. Yaley involved in an accident.
Yeah, it's just, I can't tell what happened. You know, David Gilliland was right there in the middle, like there's nowhere he could really go. But
man, Kyle Busch took a hard hit up into the 13 car.
Newman gets clobbered by Burton.
Yeah, and at that point in time, Danica gets turned down across the racetrack, and as she's coming down, she clips a car. You see her come down across the racetrack right here, across the hood of Ricky Stenhouse, turn to 18. Watch the 18 turn right here and go straight back up the racetrack, and you can't see it, but just pins a 13 on the wall right here.
But that
tough hits right there.
Yeah, but that actually helped the 18 as far as, because if he didn't get into mirrors, that 18 was going to hit as hard as Casey.
Yeah, and that 18 was going to hit like he hit a couple years ago when Tony and him got together and turned him into the outside wall right there.
And all that. So
here's the 18 down on the inside. Thinks he's clearing, and now all of a sudden you'll see right here. And it happens so fast.
The Coke Zero 400 on TNT, brought to you by Coca-Cola. When you look at this race from a statistical standpoint, it will tell you that Jimmie Johnson absolutely dominated. He did a week ago as well, but tonight he gets the checkered flag and an opportunity to celebrate his 4th win of the season. And he's in victory lane with Marty Snyder.
And Adam, what an incredible car for Jimmie Johnson tonight. The hat style with the brim flipped up. No rally caps needed for Jimmie Johnson this evening. Just an unbelievable run. Man, when was the last time you had a car that dominant at a plate race, Jimmy?
Oh, man, it's tough to do at a plate track, especially with how tight the rules are. But I think I showed strength early, and a lot of guys knew that and were willing to work with me and help me through situations, which was great. And I don't know if I really made a bad move tonight, so I'm pretty proud of that. Had a great horse to ride, got White Lightning to victory lane, which I'm very proud of. I want to thank Lowe's and all the employees at Lowe's for their dedication and support of our race team. Chevrolet, Cobalt Tools, Gatorade, Sprint for their support of our series as well. And I want to give my daughter an early birthday wish. Her birthday is tomorrow, 3 already. So time's flying, but just an awesome night tonight.
What's the deal with all our bills flipped up? Everybody's got their bills flipped up on their hat.
I don't know if it's West Coast or I can't really get a.
It's not a rally cap, is it?
No, and I'm looking at East Coasters thinking it's West Coast. So I don't really know, but we'll take it. We'll run bills up. It's not as arrow as you would think, but just very, very proud of the night. And I want to thank everybody at Hendrick Motorsports for a great race car, engine shop, chassis shop, Arrow. Very, very fast race car.
First guy in 31 years to win the 500 and the 400 since Bobby Allison. That's pretty rare air, isn't it?
I feel like a nerd with that up. Someone put it back.
Yeah, go back to the other way, dude.
That's amazing. Gosh, I in Southern California watched Bobby Allison, and I remember where I was the day Davey passed away. I mean, that's how much the Allison family meant to me, and I always thought it was so great to watch Bobby and Davey race, and to do anything that Bobby's done is pretty special. So very happy tonight. Hi, honey. Be back home soon, and let's have some fun tonight.
After the last few weeks, nice to pay one off finally in victory lane.
Yeah, we've been knocking on the door for sure. So it's great to pull White Lightning in victory lane, and also want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. Thank all the men and women that have fought for our country, for independence, and we'll have some fun tonight.
And the big picture, he keeps up with Matt Kenseth as well. That makes 4 wins. They'll be now tied for the #1 seed. Matt.
On the restart, Tony Stewart was sitting in the 4th position. Opportunity and circumstances kept changing. Smoke, walk us through the final green-white check.
I mean, I can't remember everything that happened, but I didn't get as good a restart as I wanted, but I think it kind of worked to our favor there. You know, it got Clint a little bit ahead of me, and it got Kevin a little bit ahead of Jimmy, and that let Jimmy and I both tuck down to those 2 guys and get going. And Kurt Busch gave us a really good push from behind there, and that got us back to getting Jimmy the shove he needed. So we got us out there far enough ahead to where we could worry about racing him. But man, that's some strong Hendrick horsepower up front there. You get 3 or 4 of these Hendrick cars together, and they're fast. And everybody at SHR, Ducks Unlimited, Bass Pro Shops, just everybody did an awesome job this weekend. Just glad we were ahead of the carnage.
Impressive night by the Duck car. Stewart finishes 2nd.
Well, Clint Boyer's here watching the replays. Cars scattering everywhere. What'd you see from inside the cockpit?
Well, I just saw a lot of stuff in the mirror, but I mean, I was
pushing Michael, and you know, I got an opportunity to get to the bottom of him and got him past, and I look in the mirror and oh, hell broke loose. But man, that's Daytona. You know, I've made a rule of myself on these restricted plate tracks to be easy, you know, ride around. It's boring. You hate to do that for your sponsors, for your team. You want to be up there, you know, racing for every lap led. But you know, it's just kind of been working for me, and we got a run up there in the middle with a 9. I really didn't need that caution to come out. Unfortunately, it did, and then we restarted on the bottom. I knew I was going to be in trouble because I wouldn't be able to use that middle. They came through the middle. I was like, oh no! And you know, I was lucky to get, you know, back up there. But hey, I'll take a top 5 one of these things any day. I want to thank Peak Blue Def for being on board. It's a cool looking race car, and you know, proud of our day.
Top 5 is great, especially when you've had 3 in a row.
Well, Dale Jr. comes off 8th tonight. Dale, looked like you tried to make a couple runs to the outside, but you just couldn't work your way up to where Jimmy Johnson was.
Yeah, Jimmy had a good track position all night. We really just didn't really make our way to the front at all. We passed some cars here and there, but I had fun. Pretty wild race there at the end, and happy for HMS to get a win. And we had a problem with a car, the right front caliper or something broke off right there at the end, and could hardly steer it coming into the pits here. But it was a good day. What are you gonna do? You know, happy for the NASCAR. Hope everybody had a good July 4th weekend, and we'll go to the next one.
Thanks, Dale.
And it almost worked according to game plan for Kevin Harvick. Faded to the back, worked his way to the front, and almost took the 29 car to victory lane for your last time in this machine here at Daytona. Walk me through the final lap or so. It looked like you were in the exact right position.
I thought we were in a good spot. You know, the whole thing on the restarts is just getting your line to form, but everybody on our Budweiser Chevrolet did a great job, and we were able to hold Jimmy door to door until the exit of turn 2, but both of those restarts, the 14 and the 15, and whoever was behind him just couldn't get our line formed up. And all night it seemed like the top line would form up pretty quick, and those guys were able to get going a lot quicker.
All right, thank you, Kevin.
Yep, thank you.
And Matt, Kevin's teammate Jeff Burton involved in one of those crashes in the final lap. He and Kyle Busch both have been released from the infield care center. Here are the final results from tonight's race. How about some guys that got top 10 finishes? Casey Mears, first time he's been in the top 10 in almost 4 years. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 11th tonight.
I don't think we talked much about Newman either, but he got a good finish out of it.
Yeah. Michael Waltrip in the top 5 after an issue on pit road fairly late in the race. Danica Patrick, 13th. Nice follow-up to what she did here in February. And J.J. Haley, 14th this evening.
I think all these guys around 15th and back
were involved in a wreck.
Yeah, we're all involved in that last wreck there.
Solid top 20 for Travis Kvapil, Terry Labonte. Brad Keselowski ended up 21st tonight.
So Marcus Ambrose finished 26th, and then with 5 or 6 laps to go, he's going for the lead.
And Casey Kane, another driver that was right there in the hunt.
Same thing.
Ends up 32nd. Matt Kenseth was 33rd. A.J. Allmendinger, a lot of time in the top 10, 35th tonight. All of these drivers had problems fairly early in the race tonight. Michael Waltrip finished 5th tonight. Second straight top 5 in a plate race, Ralph.
Well, Michael, I know these guys worked hard to give you a good race car, but once again, you showed your super speedway prowess, drove it up into a top 5 again. How'd you do it this time?
Well, we were just really fortunate because we got in a wreck on pit road, and the team did an amazing job of fixing the car. It was dragging the ground, and they put some packer in the front, got it off the ground. Heck, Graf, we spend months building these cars and meticulously tweaking every inch of them. They jacked me up and dropped me on a block of wood to get the nose off the ground, and we were able to drive it to 5th. Got real fortunate to start on the outside there at the end. That helped, and got a great push. I don't know where David Gillen went. We were working together, and it was over, and I just figured he was in front of me, but he wasn't. So I'm just happy for the Aaron's Dream Machine and the team because it was a really hard-deserved and well-deserved, hard-working finish.
Good run by Kurt Busch tonight, finishing 6th and now moving in the top 10 in points. You're going to be happy about that, Kurt.
Yeah, it's awesome to have a good run like this, stay out of trouble, and post a nice top 10. These Furniture Row guys have been working hard, and we've made little mistakes here and there and everywhere. But when we start putting it together, it's now starting to bear the fruit, and we've moved our way into the top 10 in points. So it's pretty cool. Long way to go, but yet we still can get better.
And I'm just real proud of these guys, the effort that we've put forth, and just a big thanks to Barney Visser and Furniture Row and Chevy and everybody that's on board. And we got our 3 mattress brands with Simmons, Serta, and Sealy. Got to thank Monster. They've been sticking with me. It's great. We're there. We still got more work to do. It's cool.
78 team really coming together. They'll be in victory lane soon.
Without question, they have been impressive of late, and Kurt mentioned it. The team has now jumped inside the top 10 in the Sprint Cup Series championship standings, 18 races into the year. Johnson padding his lead at the front, and as Marty pointed out, he now matches Matt Kenseth for 4 wins on the season. Clint Boyer now second, jumping over Carl Edwards, and Tony Stewart back inside the top 10. That's big because he can get bonus points for that win he picked up at Dover a month ago.
Yeah, Kurt Busch and Tony Stewart got like 5 and 6 spots in points in this race.
Truex dropping outside the top 10. He's number 1 in the wild card. Kane drops to number 2 in the wild card chase. And how about some of the names on the outside looking in? Brad Keselowski, Jeff Gordon, Joey Logano. Big hit tonight, was 10th coming in. He's now 15th. And here, look at the drivers outside the top 20. They want to get in the top 20 and get a win. Final thoughts tonight, guys?
I think it's what we expected. Typical Daytona.
Typical Daytona.
Good race.
July.
Yeah.
So next Sunday, NASCAR on TNT wraps up the Summer Series in Loudon. Coverage begins noon Eastern Time with Countdown to Green presented by Kelley Blue Book. Followed by NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Next on TNT, it's the Fast and the Furious. Special thanks to our production management crew. Sarah Phillips, Nancy Smith, Savannah Brotherton, Neil Ragsdale. They do a great job. And our runners who worked hard in the heat this weekend, Cam Michael, Alyssa Szymanski, Angela Lazinski, and Jim McCoy. We appreciate your hard work. The producer of NASCAR on TNT, Jeff Sponge Randolph. Mike Wells, our director. Coordinating producer, Barry Landis. Our VP for executive producer of production, Tim Kiley. Albert Vertino, our vice president, executive producer of content. Senior Vice President of Production and Executive Creative Director is Craig Berry. Chief Operating Officer Lenny Daniels. And the President of Turner Sports is David Levy.
Thanks, Bart, for sewing my button back on.
Kyle Petty and Wally Dallenbach. I'm Adam Alexander. Thanks for being with us from Daytona.